Chapter 2084 Dwanmu Uebwa. Chapter 2084 Dwanmu Uebwa. Yimo stopped in the void. He still wanted to set up a formation for Lotus Glory Sect and visit where Xiaoyun stayed and find Meng Qi. But clearly, that was impossible now. There were countless realms connected to the void and the universe was vast. He just reached Tao molding Divine Emperor. He was far from letting his spirit will cross voids and realms. He really wanted to know how Truth Divine Emperor went back to the immortal realm, but Truth Divine Emperor wouldn't tell him. There were plenty of God crystals and God spirit ranges in his golden page world, but Yimo knew that even if he used them all he wouldn't be able to reach Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor needed fortune and understanding of Tao law. This wasn't a piling up of resources. Shadowless, control the space-time boat. Wherever you feel there is people, just go there. You can tear the void here easily. Yimo said. He didn't know the direction anyways, so there was no difference if he was flying or shadowless. Shadowless loved to do such things. In order to have fun in the void, Small Ginseng and Qiu Rang came out of the Golden Page world too. They both said that one extra person had one extra way. Yimo knew these three together would just waste more time, but he didn't have the mood to chat with these guys, so he let them all out. Yimo went back into the Golden Page world. He was going to build an exquisite residence for Kai Wanqing. Yimo used his best materials and even that unused God Heart stone. Yimo was very meticulous. Half a month later, he built an extremely beautiful palace for Kai Wanqing. A top-grade God Spirit range was used to provide Essence Kai for the palace and a top formation was used to protect it. Kai Wanqing's room was at the back of the palace. Yimo planted thousands of immortal spirit herb and immortal flowers around the palace. Space-time boat flew like a headless fly in the void, but Yimo could only let them do as they please. He was perfecting his god arts in the Golden Page world and would stay with Kai Wanqing when he had the time. 3 months later, Yimo felt his Tao wave laws become more fluid. Today, Yimo left Kai Wanqing's place and felt Shadowless' desperate call. Yimo immediately scanned his spirit sense out and found that the three were trying their best to control the space-time boat. There was an extremely huge whirlpool in front of them. If they didn't try their hardest, the space-time boat would have been swept in already. Despite this, a little less than half of the boat was gone. Yimo quickly sent the three into the Golden Page world. The next moment, the Golden Page world was sucked into the whirlpool. "Boss, I seem to feel we should go this way, so..." Shadowless looked down and called. It was completely his responsibility this time. He said to go close to that whirlpool and said it would definitely be fine. He even said that he and Yimo had seen such whirlpool before and it would be fine as long as you didn't go in. In the end, the three neared it and lost control. They couldn't even go back into the Golden Page world due to the powerful suction force. Yimo sighed. When he gave the space-time boat to Shadowless, he should have expected such things to happen. There were countless whirlpools in the void, but luckily they had Golden Page world. They wouldn't die from it. Yimo didn't have the mood to tell Shadowless off. They were already lost anyways. So what if they were swept away? Yimo had seen these whirlpools more than once before. Sometimes they lead to another void, sometimes they lead to another realm. If they really went to another realm, that would be good. But when Yimo felt the outside get colder and colder, he felt things wasn't thing. When the Golden Page world fell into the whirlpool, it seemed to be dropping straight down non-stop. Yimo was just Tao molding Divine Emperor, but his spirit sense was for beyond Tao molding Divine Emperor. Yet despite this, his spirit sense was quickly invaded by the coldness. His Golden Page world spun faster and faster and his spirit sense lasted shorter and shorter. A month later, the whirlpool finally disappeared. Yimo felt that coldness go away. The Golden Page world appeared in a dark grey world. Yimo felt this world was empty. It had no life, no Kai, no temperature. Yimo came out of the Golden Page world and stood on this dark grey place. He scanned his spirit sense out slowly. All that his spirit sense saw was dark grey. There wasn't even color in this world. What is this place? It doesn't seem to be the void. Shadowless came out of the void. Yimo looked around and said, "This isn't the void. If I'm not wrong, it's a world. A powerful immortal's solitary world. There's a grey stone house ahead and a dead person inside. Let's go have a look. Yimo saw that the world wasn't big. This stone house was perhaps the only structure here. There wasn't even a door to the house. Yimo walked in with Shadowless and saw a dark grey body. It was leaning against the wall with instant second head hanging down. There was an 80 centimeters spear pierced from his back. Yimo suddenly felt this sense of familiarity from this person. It was indescribable, but Yimo turned his eyes to the spear. He didn't feel any Kai in this world, but when his spirit sense scanned this spear, a sharp killing intent shot out from the spear. Yimo felt his sea of consciousness go cold. He immediately stabilized his sea of consciousness. He was very shocked. This spear wasn't even released, and it was this terrifying. Just how savage would it be if it was activated? There's writing on the wall, Shadowless said. Yimo saw it too. He walked closer. This body seemed extremely ugly, but there were 2 strands of tears trickling down that didn't dissipate with time. My name Duanmu Yuebwa, Shu Yu Divine Dao. Seeing the sect name, Yimo immediately remembered the 7th painting he saw in that estate at the bottom of the river. There was a grand sect in the painting. A grey-robed man stood before the sect in the air. I understand. Yimo muttered to himself. No wonder this corpse felt familiar. It was the figure he saw in the painting. Yimo knew this man was definitely not ordinary. His back seemed much cooler than his look, but someone like that died here. Yimo sighed. If the riverbed estate was set up by Duanmu Yuebwa, then he was definitely a powerful being. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2085 They Way Back. Chapter 2085 They Way Back. Divine Tao Samsara is broken. Tao pursuers forgot the source of life. I vindicated primordial essence Tao, will open the divine Tao realm Samsara, connect to the underworld and rebuild Samsara with great determination. There was a long message on the wall. After reading it, Yimo couldn't help feel a pity for Duanmu Yuebwa. This person vindicated primordial essence. He felt very heart-ached seeing that divine Tao realm cultivators slaughter and rob with any means necessary for cultivation. He wanted people to know that even if they couldn't vindicate great Tao, they could still go into Samsara and cultivate from the start as long as they had goodwill in their hearts. But Samsara was extremely hard in the divine Tao realm. Only 1 in 10s or 100 could go into Samsara. Duanmu Yuebwa wanted people to have more goodwill and decided to use his power to open a path to the underworld. Duanmu Yuebwa did go into the underworld and saw it, but at this moment, he realized he was too weak. Even though he was a primordial essence divine emperor in the divine Tao realm, he was nothing in the underworld. He went through countless years of hardship and still couldn't fulfill his dream. After he was ambushed and fled from the underworld, he hid into his small world. His sea of consciousness cracked open and just left a few messages of the dark lightning bead, and his sea of consciousness completely crumbled. Thus, he could only write on the wall. Yimo looked around but didn't see any dark lightning bead, but he didn't care. He just wanted to get out quickly. If there was no way out, he was planning to break the grey world. When Duanmu Yuebwa left his message, he felt the Shu Yu divine Tao annihilated and battles everywhere in the divine Tao realm. Countless immortals and divine emperors died. Duanmu Yuebwa felt very sad that he couldn't help at all when the sect that raised him was annihilated. While he was trying to pave a path in Samsara for the divine Tao realm, his sect was annihilated clean by the people of the divine Tao realm. This made his heart die too and his life force deplete more rapidly. The message stopped there. It didn't say who was hunting him nor why he was hunted nor how to get out. Yimo sighed. If Duanmu Yuebwa didn't sense his Shu Yu divine Tao being annihilated, perhaps he would have had sliver of hope to live. He didn't believe that Duanmu Yuebwa paved the underworld passage purely out of altruistic motives. He definitely had his own agenda, but regardless it was very beneficial to the divine Tao realm. Yimo grabbed the short spear that killed Duanmu Yuebwa. A vast and extreme killing intent came from the spear. It was like the killing intent was ready to kill. Even with Yimo's power, he almost let go. Such powerful spear, This killing intent is no ordinary thing. Yimo said. Shadowless boss, if you don't like this spear you can give it to me. Yimo ignored Shadowless. Yimo used his god essence and the short spear quickly left Duanmu Uebwa's body. This extremely restlessness came from the spear. Yimo suppressed with his spirit sense immediately and put a few restrictions on it before sending it to his golden page world. Yimo felt this spear was even stronger than the 3-treasure primordial essence gourd. Duanmu Uebwa's body suddenly fell down. A dark blood bead fell out of the wound in front of his chest, turning into a black bead. Yimo didn't need to pick it up as the message Duanmu Uebwa left behind came. This blood orb was Shu Yu Divine Dao's sect protection dark lightning orb. Those who can see this orb must be from the Divine Dao realm. The one who gets this, if willing to swear to rebuild Shu Yu Divine Dao, can use this bead to return to the underworld passage he didn't finish. It couldn't go back to the Divine Dao realm directly, but it could go back to the immortal estate he left. There was a Yin Abyss metal card there, and one could use that card to teleport to the Shu Yu Divine Dao from the 7th painting. Yimo dazed and took out the metal card. He was eventually going back to the Divine Dao realm. But soon, Yimo was grateful to Duanmu Uebwa. Regardless of his motives, at least Duanmu Uebwa gave him a quick way back to the Divine Dao realm. However, he went around the cultivation realm and had a lot of unfinished business, and now he had to go back to the Divine Dao realm. Shadowless quickly said, "Yeah boss, I felt I should come over here. That's why I came over." Yimo waved his hand. "You're not to blame." At this moment, Yimo realized that the reason Shadowless came over was because Duanmu Uebwa left some Kai to draw him here. Those who came from the Divine Dao realm would feel this Kai. At the same time, Yimo looked down on Duanmu Uebwa's means of action. Perhaps he had a nice heart, but he definitely had ulterior motives for opening the Divine Dao realm Samsara passage. The passage he went into before couldn't be entered by anyone. If he didn't have the golden page world, he would be dead. From this, it was clear that Duanmu Uebwa drew people to that passage only thinking about his own benefits but not other people's life and death. If Duanmu Uebwa set up the Samsara passage, it would be a huge contribution to the Divine Dao realm. With this, he might progress stronger. If Primordial Essence Divine Emperor was the extreme, he wouldn't be killed. Even if Primordial Essence Divine Emperor was the extreme, there was highs and lows. Yimo had vindicated Dao now and could sense some things about good karma. But Yimo didn't care about these things. He pursued his own Dao. He severed the wills affecting him during his Dao vindication. Repairing the Divine Dao realm and Immortal realm was a huge good karma, and it could help other Divine Emperors greatly and vindicate the best Dao. But Yimo wanted to vindicate his own Dao. Even if he was to repair the Divine Dao realm, it would have nothing to the award Heaven Dao gave him. Otherwise, no matter what Dao he vindicated, he would still be below Heaven Dao. Yimo picked up the dark lightning bead and immediately felt the ancient heavy mixed Kai inside. Yimo didn't check the bead with his spirit sense. This was Shu Yu Divine Dao's treasure. He didn't want to take it for himself. If this bead can take me back to the Divine Dao realm, I, Yimo, will rebuild Shu Yu Divine Dao and return this bead to the sect. Yimo's words couldn't be called oath. He didn't say what would happen if he didn't do it. Yimo could even sever wills that made him swear during Dao vindication. How could he make an oath for such small thing? When Yimo said those words, there was no reaction from the dark lightning orb. Clearly, it was unhappy with his oath. "Boss, it doesn't seem to be useful." Shadowless looked at the bead and said. He even wanted to say to Yimo, "Why not let me make the oath? I make oaths as easy as drinking and eating." No reaction, then we'll break this world and find our own way back. A mere lifeless world can't stop me. Yimo sneered and turned to leave. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2086 Return to Broken Realm. Chapter 2086 Return to Broken Realm. Yimo knew that the bead probably noticed his words didn't sound like an oath at all and so didn't react. He was planning to break open this grey world. He didn't care if this world would be destroyed in the world. The instant Yimo turned, A dark ray suddenly shot out of the bead and struck the wall. In a buzz, a black whirlpool formed. "Boss, it worked," Shadowless said. Yimo rejoiced. It was best that the dark lightning bead could conform. At least he didn't need to waste time in the void. "Go into the golden page world first. I'm fine alone." Yimo sent Shadowless into the golden page world, and then he went into that whirlpool without hesitation. His spirit sense already reached inside and knew there was no danger inside. As soon as Yimo stepped in, he felt a powerful rotational force lift him up. Even with his powerful spirit sense, he couldn't see completely clear. The spinning force didn't last long. It seemed to have built a tunnel in the void, and in just 5 minutes, Yimo landed in a black room. Spirit sense scanned with his spirit sense. His spirit sense couldn't find a way out. There was a stair in the middle of the room and it expanded into the infinity. How could Yimo not know it? When he was at the estate at the bottom of the Chengzheng River, this was the stairs he saw. His power was too low at the time and couldn't go down the stairs. This dark room was probably the place Duanmu Yuebwa connected to the underworld. Yimo didn't know if this passage was opened or not. Yimo didn't think about how to find the underworld tunnel. He just went on the stairs. He was worried if he could go up these stairs. If he couldn't, he would have to find another way out. Clearly, Yimo was worrying too much. He found it required much less power to go down than go up. Plus, his cultivation level was much higher than before, but the stairs weren't short. Yimo's speed wasn't slow, but he still used 2 hours to come to the top. Just when Yimo wanted to take out the metal card and open the yin-yang fish entrance, it opened automatically. A powerful cold power instantly filled the place and brought Yimo landing on the empty palace. Luckily Yimo_'s power increased, and although this was sudden, he didn't faceplant in the middle like before. After Yimo fell in the palace, the yin-yang fish painting closed automatically. Yimo looked at this familiar palace and was speechless. Many years ago, he left from here. Many years later, he came back. The palace was empty and the paintings were still there. Yimo knew that if he used the metal card, he could return to the divine Tao realm with the 7th painting. But this time, he was in no rush to leave. When he saw the first painting, he almost sunk into it, but now, he could look at a few more. The first painting was a servant carrying water. When Yimo's spirit sense scanned in, he felt that powerful suction force again. If he was still immortal emperor, he wouldn't be able to stop this suction, but now that he vindicated Tao, he could feel a primal Tao wave from the suction force. As the Tao wave Kai spread, it was like a primordial essence divine emperor teaching him Tao waves. Yimo soon broke free from this. He was certain that if it was someone who hadn't vindicated Tao, he would immediately give up everything and sit here to derive his Tao. Yimo had his own Tao law. Of course, he wasn't going to learn Duanmu Yuebwa's Tao. He didn't care about the Tao wave laws. He saw messages from this painting. The servant carrying water was Duanmu Yuebwa. If he used the metal card, he could teleport to the realm Duanmu Yuebwa used to live in. Yimo's eyes moved to the second painting. It was of someone running rapidly. On this painting, Yimo could feel the hardship of Duanmu Yuebwa's cultivation. These paintings recorded the bits and pieces of Duanmu Yuebwa's cultivation. It was the source of his Tao vindication. He drew out perfectly his Tao vindication. Yimo wasn't interested in looking at the third painting and just walked to the 7th and took out the yin metal card. This was the second time Yimo appeared before the Shu Yu Divine Tao sect. The first time he came here, he didn't feel anything, but the second time he came here he had to rebuild the sect. The place was still ravaged and filled with broken landscapes and dried rivers. This time Yimo didn't leave straight away, he valued his promise. Although he didn't make an oath since he agreed he would do it. Yimo walked in the sect. Broken law Kais ravaged the ravines, but they couldn't harm Yimo at all. Clearly, the Shu Yu Divine Tao was intentionally made like this. Not only were the God Spirit ranges ruined, but even the nearby landscape was completely cut off. This is cruel indeed. Yimo sighed. Rebuilding the sect wasn't easy. He needed to rebuild the fallen mountains and broken rivers as well as add God Spirit range here. Duanmu Yuebwa helped him, but it seemed he needed to give quite a lot. Yimo shook his head and began work. Yimo saw what the sect looked like on the painting and could refer to that. At this moment, Yimo stood amidst the rubble of Shu Yu Divine Tao sect and thought about how to recover it. The mountains and rivers gradually formed in Yimo's sea of consciousness. At this moment, a light flashed in Yimo's mind, and that was when he reached a certain cultivation level, he could recover the sect in the wave of a hand and not form a model in his sea of consciousness first and then build it. Yimo dazed with such idea and stopped. He was thinking about a higher state. Was this primordial essence state? However, that idea flashed too quickly and Yimo wasn't able to grasp it. Yimo suddenly woke up and shook his head. His cultivation level was too far from third step of Tao Vindication primordial essence. He had decided to go find someone to build the sect first and then get revenge at Changfei Divine Tao City. Then, he would return to the immortal realm. He needed to seal the passage completely shut. Yimo believed that with his current power, even if he couldn't understand that formation immediately, he would be able to perfect it with time. After he perfected that formation, he could return to the immortal realm and study about how to go back to the cultivation realm. He didn't believe that he couldn't go back to the cultivation realm when Truth Divine Emperor could. Just when Yimo moved, he caught a subtle Kai. Yimo flashed and disappeared. When he appeared again, he was in front of a man and woman. They were both immortal emperor and were defenseless to Yimo. They knew that Yimo's power was far greater than theirs. "Who are you? What are you doing here at Shu Yu Divine Tao?" Yimo sneered as his powerful divine emperor force crushed over. The two couldn't take Yimo's powerful force and immediately wanted to expand their domain. Yimo looked at the pretty woman and said, "You're from Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect." Yimo had fought with Ji-Shi countless times and could immediately sense the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect cultivation method. Hearing this, the woman's face went pale as snow. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2087 3 Big Divine Sects. Chapter 2087 3 Big Divine Sects. Yimo thought about it and realized what happened. The Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect women were all Immortal Goddess. They wouldn't be together with another man. This was unheard of. Now that this Immortal Goddess was with a man and she looked very nervous, clearly she betrayed the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Yimo didn't mind. In his eyes, the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect was only so-so. He didn't even feel Saint Ji. She was very sacred, much less this ordinary sect members. She was just a pretty woman, that's all. Yimo hadn't left yet because he wanted to know what the two were doing here. "WN Zhu Wenmao, please forgive me for offending Qian Bei. It's my fault that he came here, please don't spread the news about us." The man said respectfully and subtly stood in front of the Immortal Goddess Yu He. "Qian Bei, WN Bei is indeed from the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, but Brother Wenmao didn't ask me to come. I wanted to go with him. I'm willing to go back to the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect and receive punishment. This has nothing to do with Brother Wenmao, please let him go." The beautiful woman quickly explained. Yimo was speechless. "I have no problem with you two being together. Do whatever you want. I don't know Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect and I won't go report you in." Before they could rejoice, Yimo's tone suddenly went cold. "But tell me why you came here. If you lie at all, then don't blame me." Their faces became nervous again, but this silence didn't last very long before Zhu Wenmao saluted with his fists to Yimo. "Qian Bei, WN Bei don't dare to ask who Qian Bei is. WN Bei had decided to not live on after Yuehe goes, so WN Bei will tell Qian Bei the reason." Yimo frowned. "I didn't say to kill you, what are you talking about?" "Brother Wenmao, let me explain." Lei Yuehe's face went calm again. Lei Yuehe bowed to Yimo again and said, "Qian Bei probably knows which sect is the strongest in the Divine Tao realm, right?" Yimo nodded. "It's probably your Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, right?" Lei Yuehe shook her head. "No, out of the three big divine sects, Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect was the weakest. The strongest was Shu Yu Divine Tao, then it was Great Sun God Mountain. Shu Yu Divine Tao had perished, so the strongest is Great Sun God Mountain." Lei Yuehe said this subconsciously and then realized that Yimo probably knew all this. She said with fear. Wen said too much. Qianbei probably knows this. Yimo didn't know it at all, so he could only say awkwardly, just say everything you know. I didn't know that indeed. I've been in solitary cultivation. The two looked at Yimo with shock but didn't dare to rebuke. After all, the three big divine sects of the divine Tao realm was instant second flag. There was no way Yimo didn't know about them. Our sect Saint Qing saved the collapsing divine Tao realm and thus was respected by people of the broken realm and rose our sect to a number one sect. But in fact, there's a sect who wasn't affected much, just like ours. It's the Great Sun God Mountain. Lei Yuehe was very precise and Yimo nodded happily. Continue. Yes. Lei Yuehe continued. Ever since Shuyu divine Tao was annihilated, the people from Great Sun God Mountain rarely appeared. After countless years, people from Great Sun God Mountain started to come out. We know that even two of the immortal goddess sacred sect combined is no match for Great Sun God Mountain. Yimo asked, you're saying that Great Sun God Mountain wants to annihilate immortal goddess sacred sect? Lei Yuehe said definitely they do. You're all sects of a broken realm, why do this? Yimo asked. The reason they haven't done this is because the main peak of the Great Sun God Mountain, the Great Sun God Peak's law, is incomplete. It was contaminated. They need to sacrifice our saint to purify it. Once the impurities are gone, the powers of the Great Sun God Mountain would rise again. Hearing this, Yimo was more confused and asked with a frown, how do you sacrifice the saint? At the peak of the Great Sun God Mountain, slice open the neck of the saint and let her blood flow down the peak until the saint dies and all of her life force is devoured by the Great Sun God Mountain. Lei Yuehe said dejectedly. Then she added, this is just their excuse. If we don't lend them the saint, they would use this to attack. After we lend them the saint, they would still attack. Yimo could guess that she wasn't the sect, as she told her that for some reason she was no longer saint. This Great Sun God Mountain was so bleak. The divine Tao realm was already withered to this state and they still want to dominate everything. If this continues, the divine Tao realm would eventually completely cripple. I heard that a prodigy of Great Sun God Mountain is about to reach primordial essence divine emperor. They're probably doing this for that prodigy. They want to use the entire realm to vindicate his down. Once he fuses the divine Tao realm and completes the sect, his primordial essence divine emperor would be in great completion. Zhu Wenj said. Then he said hatefully, I've suspected the Great Sun God Mountain long had such plans. You're saying that a Tao essence divine emperor peak stage of Great Sun God Mountain is about to fuse the entire realm and then use it to vindicate primordial essence? Yimo asked in shock. Isn't this spirit controlling the entire divine Tao realm for himself? This was more than cruel. On the surface it seemed to be doing good, but even a primordial essence divine emperor would have to kill all the living beings here. Even if he didn't, all the living beings on this place would be spirit controlled and turn into divine Tao laws once he perfected the world laws here. Yes. Zhu Wenmaro sighed. Yimo shook his head. Impossible. If it's just a Tao essence divine emperor, there's no way he can do this. Yimo's cultivation level was far from Tao essence divine emperor, but he had some understanding of Tao essence divine emperor. He knew that even a peak stage Tao essence divine emperor can't spirit control the entire divine Tao realm. That was suicide. Perhaps he isn't Tao essence, perhaps he is already primordial essence. Yimo's heart was shook. Could a primordial essence divine emperor spirit control the divine Tao realm? It said that the divine Tao realm had 5 primordial essence divine emperor before and they remained in balance. No one dared to spirit control the divine Tao realm. But before, even if there was just one primordial essence divine emperor, he wouldn't be able to spirit control the complete divine Tao realm. But now the divine Tao realm was broken, a primordial essence divine emperor might really be able to spirit control this realm and then rebuild the realm with his god art. That way, this realm would probably be his chaos world. If there really was such a guy, then he would have to flee this place. The three fell in silence. Yimo finally realized what Zhu Wenmao's death meant, but he was still suspicious. If Qian Bei doesn't have any business, Wen Bei will be going. Seeing Yimo not talk, Zhu Wenmao said again. Yimo nodded. Lei Yuehe, I want to ask you another question. I know your Saint Ji Shi, did she come back? Hearing this, Lei Yuehe dazed but soon reacted and bowed. Qianbei, saint, she has been back to the sect for a few years. But now, she's no longer the saint. It's someone else. Yimo rejoiced. Gee, she was back and he could get his gourd from her. Okay, I'm very happy with your answer. I have one last question. Why did you guys come to Shuyu Divine Dao? Yimo thought about getting the gourd and was very happy. Zhu Wenmaro sighed. He knew he had to answer and bowed to Yimo because Wenbei is the only surviving sect member of Shuyu Divine Dao. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2088 Fire Spirit Little Blue. Chapter 2088 Fire Spirit Little Blue. You're a sect member of Shuyu Divine Dao? Then why do you sneak here? Yimo asked. Zhu Wenmaro said because our sect was annihilated by Great Sun God Mountain. You're saying Great Sun God Mountain annihilated Shuyu Divine Dao? Yimo repeated and seemed to understand. If the Great Sun God Mountain really had primordial essence Divine Emperor and wanted to control the entire Divine Dao realm, then it wasn't impossible that they annihilate Shuyu Divine Dao all those years ago. Yimo thought and asked. Shuyu Divine Dao was annihilated a few million years ago. You seem far from this age. That's because when the sect was annihilated, Wenbei's essence spirit fled. I was lucky and found a Luo Xiao Wu wood to rebuild my body. After that, restarted cultivation. I later encountered Martial Sister Yuehe. Without her I wouldn't be able to last till today. Zhu Wenmaro said. Yimo could feel he wasn't lying. He looked at him and said, I'm somewhat connected with Duanmu Yuebwa. I came here this time mainly to help rebuild the sect. If you dare to stay, then help me. Our primordial essence martial ancestor Duanmu Yuebwa, Zhu Wenmaro dazed. When the sect was annihilated, the entire sect was hoping the martial ancestor would come back, but he didn't even at the final moment. This is a long story. If you're willing to help, then we'll talk about it at Changfei Divine Dao City. Yimo knew that in order to rebuild the sect they had to go the city. Many materials had to be bought from the city. 2 hours later, Zhu Wenmaro knew from Yimo that his martial ancestor could never return again. Zhu Wenmaro was lost for words. He had always hidden at the sect in hopes that the martial ancestor would come back one day. Yi Qianbei, if the sect is rebuilt, I'm afraid the Great Sun God Mountain would, Zhu Wenmaro said worriedly. If it wasn't for the Great Sun God Mountain, Yimo would rebuild the Shuyu Divine Dao straight away. After knowing about Great Sun God Mountain, of course he wouldn't do it recklessly now. He had to know the situation of Great Sun God Mountain first. He gave Zhu Wenmaro a storage ring and said there's half a top-grade God Spirit range. Zhu Wenmaro almost dropped the storage ring. The thing lacking in the God Necropolis domain the most was the God Spirit range. Even low-grade God Spirit range was rare, yet Yimo gave him half a top-grade God Spirit range. Yimo knew God Spirit range was in shortage here and was planning to give one to the Shuyu Divine Dao anyways. He took out half to help prepare resources for setting up the sect and the other half for setting up the spirit gathering formation. Yi Qianbei, Zhu Wenmaro said dryly. Half a top-grade God Spirit range was probably enough for him to vindicate Dao. This is the resource for rebuilding the sect. Use this to buy resources at the city and wait for me to come back. This wasn't much in Yimo's eyes, but Yimo wasn't that wealthy now. He needed to cultivate too. This wasn't wealthy to Yimo, but in Zhu Wenmao's eyes, it was more than enough. The Divine Dao realm was lacking resources. Even half a low-grade God Spirit range can exchange for countless resources and set up the sect for Shuyu Divine Dao. Please rest assured Qianbei, I will definitely buy the things to set up the sect and wait for Qianbei to come. Zhu Wenmaro calmed down his excitement and said. Yimo said to Lei Yuehe again, I'm going to visit the Great Sun God Mountain and Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Don't worry about your identity. I know Ji Shi, it's probably not hard for you to leave the sect. Just wait here and help Zhu Wenmaro. To Yimo, he felt that she still owed him even if she gave the gourd back to him. If she didn't even want to help with something like this, she was too shameless. Lei Yuehe was an immortal goddess and Yimo knew their status here. Even if something happened to Zhu Wenmao, she would be able to use the name of the sect to settle things. Thank you Qian Bei, WN Bei knows. Lei Yuehe said excitedly. Yi Mo didn't enter the city. He needed to get what he deserved at the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect and check out Great Sun God Mountain. After separating from them, Yi Mo used the map Lei Yuehe gave him and flew for a day before stopping and entering the Golden Page world. The first thing he did was to spirit control that short spear. Yi Mo was certain it was no ordinary thing or it wouldn't be able to kill Duanmu Wai Weibo. When he took the spear out, chaotic messy Kai seeped out from his restriction. There was killing Kai, hatred Kai, abyssal Kai, and Daomark Kai mixed together. Yi Mo set up the time formation disk and then removed the restriction and began spirit controlling this spear. The time formation disk ran for 3 days for Yi Mo had spent a year and still couldn't spirit control this spear. He could only slowly erode at the chaotic Kai, but Yi Mo knew the name of this spear now. Its name was insane. It was called Murder Dao. It was this unknown material that had been nourished for countless years and formed this short spear. Yi Mo stopped spirit controlling this spear. First, he didn't like this name. There were different heights to Daos. Everyone had their own Dao. This spear was named Murder Dao, meaning that no matter how strong you got, as long as you had your own Dao wave you might be killed by this spear's backlash. Second, Yi Mo didn't like to use spears, much less a spear with this much impure Kai. This spear had stayed countless spirits and would definitely slay more. However, the material of this spear was the best Yi Mo had seen so far. Yi Mo immediately thought of his Zishu. His Zishu was now just barely a low-grade god artifact, mainly because he lacked the materials and his forgery skills weren't good enough. Zishu was different to other magic artifacts, however. It could fuse materials itself. If he melted the material and fused it into Zishu, it would become a supreme magic artifact. Looking at this Murder Dao spear, Yi Mo was interested. The only worry Yi Mo had now was if blue like morning sky could melt this spear. If not, it would be pointless. Just when he released blue like morning sky, he felt blue like morning sky was different. He could even sense blue like morning sky's mood. What was going on? A baby Kai came. Yi Mo blurted out, "You're a fire spirit, the fire spirit of blue like morning sky?" Then, Yi Mo was very certain that a fire spirit was born. As the Kai from blue like morning sky became more and more complete, Yi Mo was even more certain. Yi Mo rejoiced. Flames could have a spirit when they were immortal flames. His mist lotus heartfire was too low level, so he didn't use it and didn't care. But when his blue like morning sky reached immortal flame, there was no fire spirit. Although blue like morning sky had reached god flame for a while now, finally a fire spirit was born. Although it couldn't completely communicate with it, but it could express its feelings. "I'll call you Little Blue." Yi Mo laughed. He felt very good. "Little Blue, I need you to melt this spear and remove the impure Kai inside and fuse it into Zishu. Can you do it?" Yi Mo asked. Blue like morning sky sent a contemptuous mood as though unhappy with Yi Mo for doubting his capabilities. However, the Murder Dao released a chaotic Kai. Yi Mo didn't care and just threw blue like morning sky on the spear. Blue like morning sky quickly wrapped the Murder Dao spear and released a fearsome blue flame. Cracking sounds came, but even after a few days, the spear was still there. The chaotic Kai was getting weaker and weaker. It seemed Little Blue just needed to burn through the chaotic Kai and would then be able to melt the spear. So amazing. Blue like morning sky was already god flame and could be said to be the strongest flame in this realm, but still couldn't melt this spear. Yi Mo sent a message to Little Blue telling him to take it slow. Yi Mo left the Golden Page world. He didn't need to watch it constantly. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2089 Saint Dao Prayer Ceremony. Chapter 2089 Saint Dao Prayer Ceremony. Yi Mo was at a small marketplace right now. The words said Lucia Market. It wasn't small, but it was an open roof market. The reason he stopped here was because he had been to this market once. He wore a mask here and was attacked due to people thinking he was Taba Feiyang. Yimo Dainty planned to go in, but when a familiar spirit sense came from the market and spun on him, it released some joyful kai. Yimo recognized who this person was. Just when he wanted to go in, this person immediately landed next to Yimo. Yimo, I really Dainty expect to be able to see you here. It was a woman, but when she saw Yimo's kai was still at Immortal Emperor, she collected her joy. It was an extremely beautiful woman. So it's Yingyaro goddess. Congratulations on Dao vindication. Yimo immediately realized why she collected her joy. She succeeded Dao vindication, but he was still Immortal Emperor. She didn't want to hit his insecurities. Yimo didn't care. The divine Dao realm's laws were incomplete. He vindicated Dao in his own chaos world. His Dao wave and laws were much more complete. Brother Yi really exceeds my expectation. I really thought Brother Yi was a monk before. Shan Yingyaro looked at Yimo's long black hair speechlessly. She wondered how Yimo came out of the God Necropolis domain border. Perhaps he had a top-level rune, but she didn't want to ask Yimo. She respected Yimo's power despite he wasn't a divine emperor. Just some small achievements. Martial Brother Yi has better talents than me, you will reach future than me. Shan Yingyaro said and then changed the subject. Brother Yi, do you want to sit for a while in the market? Yimo wasn't a monk, so she was still suspicious of Yimo and Taba Feiyang, but she felt Yimo was a good person and didn't force him. Of course. Yimo agreed. He had some things he wanted to ask Shan Yingyaro too. Shan Yingyaro had high status, and now that she reached Divine Emperor, she was respected even more. The people who saw her in the marketplace all bowed to her. After inviting Yimo into an immortal rest tower, Shan Yingyaro poured a cup of top-grade immortal tea for him. Before she asked, Yimo asked Goddess Yingyao, I want to ask if you know about the 3 divine sects of the divine Dao realm? Shan Yingyao smiled. If you asked me before, really wouldn't know, but lately I heard that the Great Sun God Mountain and Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect still remains. Shuyu Divine Dao had been annihilated. The older generation of the Broken Realm would know. Yimo asked, then how come you wouldn't know if I asked you earlier? Shan Yingyao answered, because something big happened at the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect lately. Their saint is about to go to the GSS and pray there. The Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect is the #1 sect of the Divine Dao realm, so they invited all the divine emperors of the Divine Dao realm to go there and visit the ceremony. I was invited too. Yimo immediately knew what was going on. It was no prayer ceremony. The Great Sun God Mountain and Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect both knew that the saint would be sacrificed. Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect knew their power was weaker than Great Sun God Mountain, so they invited all the divine emperors. If their saint was really killed at the Great Sun God Mountain, then they would immediately announce this news. Then, the Great Sun God Mountain would have to face not only Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect but all the divine emperors of the Divine Dao realm. Then, Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect would have even higher status, and the entire Divine Dao realm would be against Great Sun God Mountain. The Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect's calculations might seem good to them, but to Yimo, it was too naive. But Yimo was not interested in this. He just wanted to find Ji Shi before they sent the saint to the Great Sun God Mountain. As for how the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect fought, he didn't care. Does Goddess Yingyao know about any more specifics about the 3 big divine sects? Shan Yingyao shook her head. I don't know very clearly. If Brother Yi wants to know more about the situation, I can go back and ask and then bring Brother Yi a jade slip. Yimo laughed. I'm just casually asking, no need for that trouble. Shan Yingyao didn't mind and continued. The Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect's Yunhui Qianbei is coming to Changfei Divine Dao City to greet us. I'm just passing by the market here. It's really fortune to see Brother Yi here. She didn't feel Yimo's disappointment and approved of Yimo's mentality even more. Yimo didn't answer. He was going to the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, and it was best before the saint went to Great Sun God Mountain. Seeing Yimo didn't chat much, Shan Yingyao asked Brother Yi, I want to ask if you have seen Taba Feiyang? Or, Yimo knew she called him over for this and he was planning to admit it, so he nodded. That's right, I've seen Taba Feiyang. What? Then you, Shan Yingyao got up in fury. This extreme fury spouted from her. She was certain that the one wearing the mask was Yimo. This meant Yimo killed Taba Feiyang and used his skin to make the mask. Seeing her intense killing intent, Yimo really didn't have the mood to fight with her and sighed, I want to see the Taba Feiyang I saw was fake. He wore a mask. Although I didn't spirit control that mask, I know it's definitely not made from Taba Feiyang's skin. Then, Yimo took out the mask and showed it to Shan Yingyao. Shan Yingyao sat down dejectedly. She believed that the real Taba Feiyang wasn't killed by Yimo. It was an instinct. Shan Yingyao looked at the mask and said sadly, you're right. You didn't kill Feiyang. Can you tell me about how you killed that imposter? Yimo didn't hide this and just said what happened at Muhua God Mountain. Thank you, Brother Yi, you helped Feiyang get revenge. Shan Yingyao gave the mask back to Yimo and bowed. Yimo respected her quite a lot. She thought he was only an immortal emperor but was still willing to bow to him. This is what I got from the fake Taba Feiyang. I have no use for it. If it belongs to your martial brother Feiyang, then have it. Yimo took out the cracked 6 glory soul light. Shan Yingyao exclaimed again and grabbed it. Her tone sniffed. Clearly, the magic artifact belonged to the real Taba Feiyang. Seeing her so sad, Yimo got up and said, Goddess Yingyao, you will be leaving now. Wait. Shan Yingyao came back to her senses and rubbed her eyes. Her actions also made Yimo think she was not a divine emperor but an ordinary woman. To many divine emperors, this action meant an unfirm mind, but in Yimo's eyes, it was someone who was still alive and had emotions. Shan Yingyao said again, thank you for bringing this magic artifact to me. I don't have anything good to give Brother Yi. Yunhui Qianbei is going to Changfei Divine Dao City. We're going there too. Yimo knew what she meant. She wanted to bring him to the Shandu God Estate and give him some rewards, but Yimo wasn't interested in such things. Not good. Yimo suddenly thought of something and dashed out in a light and disappeared. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2090 Don't think too much of yourself. Chapter 2090 Don't think too much of yourself. What's not good? Before she finished, Shan Yingyao realized that Yimo had disappeared from her. She just realized that even as a Dao-molding divine emperor she didn't see how Yimo left. Yimo's heart was burning now. When she said the Yunhui divine emperor of the immortal goddess sacred sect was at Changfei Divine Dao City, he reacted. Lei Yuehe and Zhu Wenmao were doing things for him in the city. He hadn't gone to Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect to mention Lei Yuehe to Ji Shi yet, and there was a divine emperor from Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect there. Lei Yuehe was a mere immortal emperor. She wouldn't be able to resist a divine emperor at all. If that divine emperor realized that Lei Yuehe disobeyed the sect rules, perhaps she would kill Lei Yuehe on the spot. Even if she didn't, she would remove her power. Lei Yuehe might have a chance to live, but Zhu Wenmao who seduced Lei Yuehe would have zero chance to live. Yimo didn't believe the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect was truly sacred. He had seen hypocrites all too much. Just from how they invited other divine emperors to watch the ceremony to draw hatred to Great Sun God Mountain meant something. At this moment, Yimo used space-time boat to its extreme speed. If it wasn't that the space here was too unstable, he would even use instant transmission. At the city gates, 20 or so divine emperors stood on the two sides. A grey-robed pretty woman walked down from the air. Some immortal emperors and below could only stand behind respectfully welcome Yunhui Qianbei, welcome Yunhui Divine Emperor. This grey-robed pretty woman was Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect's Yunhui Divine Emperor. Just looking at the city greeted her, one would know how liked the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect was. Yunhui smiled to these divine emperors and nodded. This divine Kai formed Dao wave rings behind her back, making her seem more sacred, as though she had the utmost beauty and loving Kai. Some weak-powered immortal emperors didn't even dare to look her straight in the eye. To them, Yunhui was too beautiful that they didn't dare to show any disrespect. Thank you everyone. Our Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect will protect the divine Dao realm till the end. Yunhui said casually. At this moment, Zhu Wenmao and Lei Yuehe, who were hiding in an immortal rest tower, had their faces turn pale as paper. They would have never imagined that before Yimo came back, the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect Yunhui Divine Emperor came. Yunhui Divine Emperor detests immortal goddesses who aren't impure. Lei Yuehe wasn't scared of death, but she was so scared of Yunhui Divine Emperor that she couldn't talk. Zhu Wenj grabbed her hand and said, Yuehe, sorry, I'm so useless. I brought this to you. I didn't even have the chance to rebuild Shu Yu Divine Tao, and then I brought disaster to you. Lei Yuehe hugged Zhu Wenmao tightly. Brother Wenmao. We can die together. I don't want to fall into martial uncle Yunhui's hands. That would be worse than death. Zhu Wenmao sighed. He couldn't even protect his own woman. He didn't know what was the point of him cultivating all these years. Yuehe, we'll be Dao partners next time. Zhu Wenmao said, and then was about to suicide. Wait, Brother Wenmao, Lei Yuehe stopped him. Lei Yuehe put his hand on her chest and said shakily, Brother Wenmao. Martial Uncle Yunhui is at the city gates. It will be a while before she finds us. I haven't been your Dao partner yet. I really want to do it once. Lei Yuehe's tone was shaky and her face went red. Once you made up your mind, you have much less fear. Zhu Wenmao dazed. Before he could speak, he heard a sneer and a huge Essence Kai hand grabbed them out. Thud thud. They were thrown at the city gates. Everyone immediately dazed. They didn't understand why Yunhui Divine Emperor threw out two Divine Emperors on the ground. I recognized them. One seemed to be an immortal goddess, sacred sect immortal goddess. What's going on? Some people discussed in the crowd. Yunhui's temperament and royal look was a bit hideous due to anger. She pointed at the two and said coldly, this woman dares to pretend to be our immortal goddess sacred sect member and dares to ruin our immortal goddess sacred sect reputation. I was wondering why an immortal goddess was with a man. So she's a fake. Of course, which immortal goddess do you see having a Dao partner? Immortal goddesses are sacred, how can they be with a man? This woman is so evil. She dares to ruin the immortal goddess sacred sect's reputation. She deserves to die. The crowd was furious and about to kill the two. Yunhui's hideous face eased up a bit. She said slowly, this man is trying to ruin the reputation of the immortal goddess sacred sect with this fake immortal goddess sacred sect woman. I'm going to kill him, but I have to take this woman back to immortal goddess sacred sect for interrogation. Why did she impose as our immortal goddess sacred sect member? It's immortal goddess sacred sect after all. They're so magnanimous, he's only going to die. Yeah, if it's someone else, it would definitely be burning their souls and annihilating it completely. Of course, the divine sect is magnanimous unlike others. People discussed heavily outside the city. Only some experienced immortals saw through some things, but they said nothing. Most immortals were cursing the two deserved to die. Zhun Wenmao gritted his teeth and wanted to speak up for Lei Yuehe before he died, but he was suppressed by this invisible power, making him not able to say a word. Go to your next life. Don't do something this immortal in your next life, Yunhui said and shot a beam at Zhu Wenmao's dantian. The two saw the beam shot over, but there was nothing they could do. At this moment, all the immortals outside the city suddenly felt a space wave. Before they could realize what happened, they heard a thud. Those weaker immortals were confused as that wasn't the sound of dantian breaking. But soon they saw that the beam didn't shoot at Zhu Wenmao's dantian but a fist that came down from nowhere. Thud. There was another huge explosion and the sturdy ground outside the city had a huge ravine. Ripples appeared in space too. A blue figure landed at this moment and stamped. The ravine outside the city disappeared. The powerful essence Kai backlashed. Yunhui stared dazedly at Yi Mo, who stood in front of Zhu Wenmao and Lei Yuehe, and asked dazedly after a while, who are you? How dare you stop the divine sect in their business? At this moment, people saw that the beam was blocked by a fist. This blue-robed man actually stopped the beam from a Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor. This speak was unheard of. He's just an immortal emperor. Everyone was more shocked when they saw Yi Mo was only an immortal emperor. No one believed this. Are you guys okay? Yi Mo ignored Yunhui and removed her restriction. Zhu Wenmao reacted and got up in surprise and joy. Thank you Qian Bei for helping. WN Bei is fine. Lei Yuehe got up and said dejectedly, WN Bei is fine, thank you Qian Bei. Yunhui was furious seeing that Yimo ignored her, but thinking about how Yimo's fist, she resisted the urge to fight and sneered, "Who are you? You stopped the immortal goddess sacred sect. Do you want to fight against the entire divine Tao realm?" Yimo laughed. "All you talk about is immortal goddess sacred sect. Do you want to use immortal goddess sacred sect to scare me? Acting against the immortal goddess sacred sect is acting against the entire divine Tao realm. Do you think you're a spring onion or garlic? Don't think so highly of yourself." Then, Yimo's smile went away as he said coldly, "Zhu Wenmao is my friend. You old bastard dare to attack him. I haven't gone to look for your trouble yet and you dare to accuse me first. Is the immortal goddess sacred sect very amazing? Your immortal goddess sacred sect owes me something and still haven't returned it. Piss off before my mood goes bad." Yunhui's face was pale white. She had never been treated like this. How could she take it? "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters." Chapter 2091 Smash Away. Chapter 2091 Smash Away. If people didn't see Yimo's punch, people would have gone up to challenge Yimo already, but from how Yimo punched, it was obvious that Yimo was no weaker than Yunhui Divine Emperor at all. It would be suicide for ordinary people to go up. Although there were so many people here welcoming Yunhui Divine Emperor and respecting the immortal goddess sacred sect, not many wanted to come up and die for them. Yunhui was shaking with anger, but she didn't attack. She really wanted to kill Yimo immediately, but Yimo attacked later and arrived first, punching her wind-fire lethal beam in one punch. He was no weaker than her. Even though she only used 30% power, she didn't feel she had one for sure. If she couldn't beat Yimo, it would be a huge blow to the immortal goddess sacred sect. This time, she came to gather momentum and force for the immortal goddess sacred sect. Yunhui didn't fight, but Yimo didn't intend on letting her go. He told her to piss off just so he could get her to attack him. Yimo didn't expect her to be this forbearing, but even so, Yimo was going to make her attack first. The immortal goddess sacred sect was this well received. If he attacked first, then even if he had reason on his side, he would have the disadvantage. If everyone felt he had no reason, then it wasn't good no matter how strong he was. He was going to rebuild the Shu Yu Divine Tao sect. He would need the help of the city. He couldn't offend the entire city. Yimo ignored Yunhui and saluted with his fists to everyone. "Everyone, justice is among out hearts. Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect is the #1 sect of the Divine Tao realm, and theoretically they should be upholding justice in the Divine Tao realm and not abuse the weak. Many people might think that my friend is wrong and deserves death for offending the Divine Sect. Okay, even if they deserve to die, then at least give the person a chance to speak. I'll let Zhu Wenmao explain why this high-status divine sect Divine Emperor wants to kill him. If he's indeed wrong and the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect Divine Emperor still wants to kill him, I won't say anything. I believe as the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect Divine Emperor, you wouldn't not give my friend a chance to speak, right?" Yimo sneered at Yunhui. "Of course, you can pretend to not hear it and leave now, but if you do, then it means you were indeed abusing the weak before. That is extremely shameless. If the Divine Sect has such people, then I believe everyone in the Divine Tao realm would be extremely disappointed." Hearing this, everyone stayed silent. No one agreed to disagree publicly. It was very natural for the accused to speak up for himself. Yimo knew the opportunity had formed and he said to Zhu Wenmao, "Brother Wenmao, how did you offend the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect? Why is the respected Divine Sect Divine Emperor killing you? Speak up, there's plenty of people here." People aren't dumb, they can differ between right or wrong. If you did indeed offend the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, I can't help you. Of course Zhu Wenmao knew what Yimo meant. He looked up and said, "That's right, I'm an os, but I didn't do anything to offend the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. I fell in love with Yuehe and we love each other. Yuehe is indeed the immortal goddess of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, but what right does this Divine Emperor Master have to accuse us of framing the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, say she's not an immortal goddess and not even let us speak?" Yimo stood up and said again, Lei Yuehe is an immortal goddess sacred sect member. I'm going to the immortal goddess sacred sect this time to help her leave. This divine emperor of the immortal goddess sacred sect is speaking blind words with open eyes. Yimo then said to Lei Yuehe, Yuehe, are you an immortal goddess of the immortal goddess sacred sect? Lei Yuehe clenched her teeth and said Wanbei is indeed an immortal goddess of the immortal goddess sacred sect. Wanbei went against the sect rules. This has nothing to do with Wenmao. Yimo was speechless. This Lei Yuehe was too honest. She's an idiot to say she went against the sect rules now. Chemph. Yunhuai's face was green. She stared coldly at Lei Yuehe and said you were an immortal goddess but now anymore. You are kicked out of the immortal goddess sacred sect. The immortal goddess sacred sect doesn't have a shameless bitch like you. You putrid revolting mess. People immediately began discussing. This meant that Yunhuai was lying before. She said that Lei Yuehe wasn't an immortal goddess and imposted as one. But now she kicked Lei Yuehe out of the sect. Yimo spat and stared at Yunhuai in contempt. Do you have any face? Putrid revolting mess. Are you not born from a mother? Or are you a female monkey that came out of a rock? You're saying it's disgusting for male and female to fall in love. Are you saying your parents are putrid revolting mess too? If your dad didn't fuck your mum, can you come out? Stop being a hypocrite, you're the most disgusting. Yimo's words were so mean that Yunhuai's face changed rapidly. The surrounding people were dazed upon hearing this too. Go die. Yunhuai could no longer contain her fury and waved out light while expanding her divine emperor domain like crazy. The people nearby quickly retreated, even some divine emperors retreated too. 108 wind fire sand turned into ripples that completely surrounded Yimo. It was like the heavens were smashing down on Yimo. Yimo sneered. Yunhuai's power was the weakest of all Dao nourishment divine emperors he had seen. Plus, he was many times stronger than before. Yimo didn't even release Zishu and just smashed out a few hand signs. He couldn't even be bothered using domain. Ice space god art. It was infinitely close to a great god art. This was the first time Yimo used it after learning it at the life-crippling desert. The nearby space seemed to have paused and this bone-eroding frost flow blew out like the wind. Even Dao-molding divine emperor felt cold and the immortal emperors retreated quickly while thinking what god art this was. It created such a terrifying frost flow. The space around Yunhuai and Yimo seemed to have completely froze. The 108 wind fire sand seemed to have been frozen and instantly slowed down until pausing. Yunhuai's domain also began to crack open. Crack. Space seemed like an icy river that completely froze and then cracked open. The fire wind sand was like falling leaves that had lost its life and slowly fell down. Yunhuai's face was pale and murmured, what god art is this? But Yimo didn't answer her and punched. Thud. Yunhuai's domain cracked open. Yimo's punch landed on her chest. She spat a mouthful of blood and flew out. Dao Essence Divine Emperor? That's the only thought Yunhuai had in her mind. Yimo was definitely Dao Essence Divine Emperor. Otherwise, how could he so easily smash her away? She knew that Yimo didn't want to kill her with that punch or she would have cracked apart already. Even though she was extremely heavily injured, Yunhuai didn't dare to land. She turned around and dashed away immediately. Yimo sneered and couldn't be bothered chasing. He never intended to kill this woman. The immortal goddess sacred sect was very big and he didn't have any big conflicts with them. He didn't need to kill Yunhuai and have conflict with the sect. All the immortals who witnessed this battle took in a cold breath. What power was this? One god art and a punch smashed away a Dao nourishment divine emperor and almost killed her. This power was terrifying. Shan Yingyao immediately chased over after she saw Yimo leave the market. She was a bit slower than Yimo but saw how Yimo easily defeated Yunhuai. If Yimo didn't show mercy, Yunhuai would have been killed. Shan Yingyao took in a cold breath. Yunhuai was a Dao nourishment divine emperor and Yimo. Clearly he reached divine emperor too but she just couldn't tell before. Read the next chapter on our VIP novel. Is just as terrifying as before. Shan Yingyao thought about how Yimo killed half divines like chickens. Those divine emperors saw Yimo's power and all came up to greet him. Yimo saluted with his fists. Immortal friends, I won't comment on the good or bad of the immortal goddess sacred sect, but everyone saw this woman. She's extremely shameless and twists the truth. I didn't kill her today because of the immortal goddess sacred sect. Yimo then said loudly, Zhu Wenmao and Lei Yuehe are my friends. They need to buy some materials in the city. Please don't trouble them on my account. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2092 Lose Virginity. Chapter 2092 Lose Virginity. Brother Yi, you've vindicated Dao indeed, and you progressed so fast. I'm the from at the bottom of the well. I actually thought you were still an immortal emperor. Shan Yingyaro saluted with her fists. Goddess Yingyaro vindicated Dao too. Yimo laughed and saluted with his fists. Shan Yingyaro knew she was a far cry from Yimo and asked Brother Yi, are you going to the immortal goddess sacred sect? Why don't we go together? Yimo sound transmissioned Goddess Yingyaro, if you trust me then don't go to the immortal goddess sacred sect. Why? Shan Yingyaro locoed at Yimo with confusion. I don't know the reason exactly. Yimo was only guessing, but of course he wouldn't tell her his guess. I'll listen to you. Shan Yingyaro didn't keep asking and instantly chose to believe Yimo. Yimo gave her this mysterious feeling. She didn't know just how powerful he was. Such person was very terrifying. She would rather not go to immortal goddess sacred sect than leave. Yimo was the impression that she didn't trust him. Yimo nodded and approved of her wisdom. If she went to the immortal goddess sacred sect she would be used by the sect. Yi Qianbei, Lei Yuehe came up and called. She was truly grateful to Yimo. Call me Brother Yi. I'm going to the immortal goddess sacred sect. You and Wenmao keep buying materials like I said before. I believe no one would dare to touch you guys now. Yimo waved his hand. Shan Yingyaro quickly said, Brother Yi, don't worry, just go. I will stay at the city. Yimo knew that Shan Yingyaro wanted to thank him and didn't reject. After all, Lei Yuehe and Zhu Wenmao was too weak. He was quite assured with Shan Yingyaro staying here. Martial Brother Yi, Lei Yuehe sound transmissioned to Yimo. I heard that the new saint of the divine sect has lost her virginity. Although the divine sect has means to hide it, the great sun god mountain would definitely realize it when they sacrifice her. There would definitely be a huge battle between the great sun god mountain and immortal goddess sacred sect. If Martial Brother Yi is going over, hearing this, Yimo immediately knew that his guess was correct. The immortal goddess sacred sect was doing exactly what he imagined. Don't worry, I've long thought of this. The immortal goddess sacred sect would intentionally take in a woman who has lost her virginity. They're quite planned. Yimo looked down on this immortal goddess sacred sect. The lives of ordinary sect members were insects to them. Lei Yuehe continued to sound transmission that Mu Xiaoyun wasn't intentionally taken in. It said she came from the immortal realm and was taken in as disciple by martial Uncle Chilan. Just when she reached Great Unity Immortal. What did you say? What is that saint called? The veins on Yimo's head burst as he grabbed Lei Yuehe hideously and asked coarsely. Lei Yuehe was fraught by Yimo's state and quickly said she's called Mu Xiaoyun. She came with a sect members called Luo Bieyue. Before she finished, she felt more space ripple and Yimo was gone. He actually used transmission at the divine Dao broken realm. Martial Brother Yi, Lei Yuehe murmured and then stopped. She realized that this Yimo Qianbei must have close relationship with this Mu Xiaoyun. They might even be Dao partners. Lei Yuehe sighed. The immortal goddess sacred sect formed another great enemy, but there was nothing she could do. Yun Huai was furious, but she was no match for Yimo. Even if Yimo pointed her nose and beat her, she would have to run away. That punch damaged her meridians. If she didn't repair her meridians quickly, it would affect her future cultivation. After dashing another 1,000,000 kilometer, Yun Huai stopped in a barren land and spot another mouthful of essence blood. She cursed even more in her heart. Just when Yun Huai wanted to open a temporary cultivation home, another dashing light went past her head. Yun Huai was shook. Normally, she wouldn't care about it at all. From the looks of it, it was just an immortal emperor tertiary stage. But now, she was no match for an immortal emperor. Of course, if she fought with her life, she didn't fear immortal emperors. But if she did that, she would never be able to reach Tao actualization divine emperor in her life. Just when Yunhui was praying for that light to disappear, it came back and landed before Yunhui. Qian Bei, are you the divine emperor master of the immortal goddess sacred sect? A good-looking middle-aged man landed. He seemed dominant, but his tone was humble. Yunhui sneered, yes, what business do you have? Wanbei Feng Kong, I see that Qian Bei seems to be injured. Wan Bei has long admired IGS. I'm willing to serve Qian Bei, Feng Kong said in a genuine tone. He didn't even dare to look up. Yunhui's face eased up and she said, no need, just go. My injuries are nothing. Yunhui was a Tao nourishment divine emperor, but her calculations were nothing compared to Feng Kong. Feng Kong just used one sentence to get out the fact that Yunhui was heavily injured. Then Wanbei will leave. Feng Kong saluted with his fists and seemed even more respectful. Yunhui nodded happily. The fame of the immortal goddess sacred sect was still there. Even with what happened at the Changfei Divine Tao City, it might not affect the big plan for immortal goddess sacred sect. Just when she relaxed, Feng Kong suddenly released a blue beam. A huge word idlo instantly surrounded Yunhui. If Yimo was here, he would know this was Feng Kong's lethal blow, the primordial 6-word god art used by the soul-robbing blue cloud brush. It was twice as strong as before and extremely rapid. It instantly surrounded Yunhui. The killing intent activated the nearby space lethal force, forming an ancient killing intent, and smashed on Yunhui. Yunhui spat a mouthful of essence blood and said hatefully, how dare you. Feng Kong instantly sealed Yunhui and carried her away from this barren lands. When Feng Kong came to the divine Tao realm, he realized that Tao vindication was extremely hard here. Now that he saw the divine emperor of immortal goddess sacred sect, how can he let her go? If she was just ordinary immortal goddess, he wouldn't be interested at all, but Yunhui was a divine emperor and one who kept her virginity. If he gave up such opportunity, he wouldn't be Feng Kong Grand Emperor. He was immortal emperor peak stage and just one step from Tao vindication. Of course he was going to take her virginity gladly and use it to vindicate Tao. 15 minutes later, Yunhui was tortured awake by Feng Kong. She immediately noticed the strange feeling of her body. It was this indescribable feeling. It seemed to be joy and sadness at the same time. She immediately saw Feng Kong Grand Emperor who was on her and felt the virginity she had kept for countless years gradually leave her. At this moment, she almost fell unconscious again. Yunhui burned her god essence and punched. Feng Kong knew Yunhui woke up, but he was at the crucial moment of taking her virginity essence. He couldn't avoid that punch. It landed on his chest and he spat a mouthful of blood. Even just a sliver of Kai of a Tao nourishment divine emperor was extremely terrifying. No matter how fallen Yunhui was, she was still a Tao nourishment divine emperor. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2093 Charge the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect in Fury. Chapter 2093 Charge the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect in Fury. Seeing the terrifying Kai on Yunhui, Feng Kong, who was heavily injured, no longer dared to stay. He got what he wanted. Whether or not he could reach Divine Emperor all depended on his luck and effort. When Feng Kong fled, Yunhui's face was hideous. She detested immortal goddesses who lost their virginity, but this thing now happened on her. What was even more cursed was that other immortal goddesses willing lost their virginity while she was forced. At the immortal goddess peak, Mu Xiaoyun dazedly sat at her cultivation grounds. She didn't know what to do anymore. She noticed something wrong. She was not only not allowed to see her master and wasn't even allowed to see Martial's sister Biue. She couldn't go anywhere other than the immortal goddess peak. Mu Xiaoyun. Ji Shi's voice sounded behind Mu Xiaoyun. Mu Xiaoyun woke up. Ji Shi sighed. Although she was much stronger than Mu Xiaoyun, She didn't stealth her Kai. Mu Xiaoyun reacted this slowly, meaning that she understood her situation a bit but just didn't know what to do. Martial sister Shi. Mu Xiaoyun quickly got up. She hesitated for a moment and asked, do you know that the Great Sun God Mountain people are here? Do they want me to go to the Great Sun God Mountain now? Did the sect leader already agree? Mu Xiaoyun asked calmly. She could know about this because Luo Biue risked her life to find out about it. Yes, I was thinking of ways to help you during this time, but even the sect leader didn't expect the Great Sun God Mountain to make us send the saint over ahead of time, she said apologetically. She knew that the Great Sun God Mountain wasn't dumb. They could think of what the immortal goddess sacred sect thought of. Mu Xiaoyun shook her head. Martial sister Shi, you don't owe me anything, so you don't need to help me. You can't help me anyways. She fell into silence again. Xiaoyun. I really do owe you, or perhaps I owe your husband Yimo. What? Mu Xiaoyun suddenly got up and grabbed Shi shakily. She really wanted to say, hurry up and tell me where my husband is. Where is Yimo? But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't speak a word. She sighed for Mu Xiaoyun and sent an essence Kai over to calm her down before saying, Xiaoyun. Don't worry. I know indeed. I just didn't tell you last time. I was planning to tell you about this today. Mu Xiaoyun could finally talk. She said shakily, Martial sister Shi, please tell me where Yimo is. She didn't said I owe Yimo, but I can't pay him back. It's the same if I give it to you, but the Great Sun God Mountain people are about to take you away. The results are same regardless if you know where Yimo is. Mu Xiaoyun felt like she was poured a bucket of cold water. She dazed. She was about to be taken away. So what if she knew where her husband was? Could she go? Mu Xiaoyun soon cast that thought aside. She just wanted to know about Yimo now. This was as important as life and death to her. I really want to take you out of the immortal goddess sacred sect, she said slowly. Mu Xiaoyun dazed. She didn't expect this at all. If she took her out, wouldn't she be able to see her husband Yimo immediately? At this moment, she was willing to give her life to she just to see her husband again. She said sadly, but I don't have such power. Plus, even if I do, I can't do that. I can only tell you where your husband went and give to you what I owe him. Mu Xiaoyun finally woke up. Her face calmed down and she bowed to Shi. Please tell me, Martial sister Shi, where is my husband Yimo? I just want to know that he is safe and then I won't worry. Mu Xiaoyun had made up her mind that she would kill herself later. She would be very satisfied to know that her husband is fine. There's definitely no good in going to Great Sun God Mountain. She was going to be insulted at Great Sun God Mountain, she might as well end herself. G11 could see Mu Xiaoyun's death wish, but she didn't remind Mu Xiaoyun. No matter what, she wasn't going to let Mu Xiaoyun kill herself. If Mu Xiaoyun killed herself, then Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect would be in a very bad situation. Your husband might have fell into the life-crippling river. You might not know about it, but from what I know, even a Tao Essence Divine Emperor would certainly die if he fell in. She didn't even finish, but Mu Xiaoyun felt her eyes go black. Even though she was a great immortal, it didn't matter. She felt like her body and soul had left her, pulled away by Shi's words. Yimo used instant transmission the whole way. Using instant transmission in a place like Divine Tao Realm was like carrying your head in your hands. Even though Yimo was lucky, he was devoured by Space Fisher 4 times. If he didn't have Spirit Sense Domain, he wouldn't even know where he would be now. He was also sliced off a large piece of flesh by Space Disposition. Usually, it would take a few days to reach the outside of Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, but Yimo only used less than half a day to get to the outskirts of Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Divine Sect Region, stop. 2 blue-figured people stopped Yimo. These 2 were Immortal Emperors. Where is Mu Xiaoyun? Yimo's eyes were red as he yelled with murderous intent. There is no Mu Xiaoyun here. Leave the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect range immediately, another Immortal Goddess yelled. Yimo didn't get the answer he wanted, so he couldn't be bothered wasting time with these 2. He kicked twice and both Immortal Goddesses were kicked away, unable to do anything. They spat blood like crazy and flew back. Who dares to be cocky at the Divine Sect? Another blue light landed in front of Yi Mo. This was a tall woman, Tao molding divine emperor. She was the tall woman who wanted to kill Mu Xiaoyun when she saw that Mu Xiaoyun had lost her virginity. Yi Mo's force rose as his killing intent soared through the clouds and yelled, "Where is Mu Xiaoyun? Where did this wild dog come from? Leave the immortal goddess sacred sect immediately. This is not a place where you can find a bitch," the tall Tao molding divine emperor said as she released a blue long sword. Seeing that she dared to insult Mu Xiaoyun, Yi Mo couldn't even be bothered saying a word. He threw out the 36 lightning sea god orbs as well as releasing ice space. This space was already controlled by Yi Mo's divine emperor domain. With the ice space binding, this space was instantly frozen. Even Yunhui had to flee under Yi Mo's ice sky. A Tao molding divine emperor immortal goddess couldn't do anything under this. Before she came back to her sense, the 36 orbs smashed over. Waves of lightning flashed. It was like killing mosquitoes with cannons. Shenhaiyan didn't even have a small piece of her remaining. Yi Mo didn't even have the mood to pick up her storage ring and charged into the immortal goddess sacred sect. At this moment, the sect formation hadn't closed yet. Lightning sea god orbs, at the top seat of the guest palace, a purple-robed woman stared at Yi Mo in fury. Yi Mo killed Shenhaiyan in just a second. She didn't even have the time to save her. Then, this purple-robed woman got up. Her face was green. Someone was this crazy and dared to kill Tao molding divine emperor in this immortal goddess sacred sect. Sect leader Ji, why are you so furious? Another Tao actualization divine emperor peak stage man got up. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2094 Most Powerful Mean. Chapter 2094 Most Powerful Mean. The immortal goddess sacred sect could shield from spirit sense. Ji Sini could see clearly what happened outside, but the rest of the people in this guest palace didn't know. The man who got up was a divine emperor from the great sun god mountain. Despite the immortal goddess sacred sect not allowing men to come in, they couldn't stop the people from great sun god mountain coming. Yuehe, tell the Grand Elder that there's someone who barged into our sect and broke our outer defense formation. He also killed out sect's Tao molding divine emperor Shenhaiyan. Ji Sini said with extreme fury. Great Sun God Mountain was this cocky and still tried to find an excuse to attack them, but this bastard didn't have any excuse and just killed Tao molding divine emperor in the sect. Since when was the immortal goddess sacred sect so easily abused? When Ji Sini's spirit sense scanned to Yi Mo immediately noticed it. Her Kai was much stronger than that Tao molding divine emperor. Yi Mo just flew into the depth of the sect. Yi Mo knew that the saints of the immortal goddess sacred sect stayed at immortal goddess peak, but he didn't know which one was the peak. However, he was a top-level formation Grand Master and understood the arrangements of the main peaks. Yi Mo had no concerns at all now. His spirit sense blades and spirit sense beams ravaged the sect. The powerful spirit sense barrier formations were torn open with brute force by Yi Mo. In a very short time, Yi Mo found the approximate direction. Yi Mo was very desperate. He went where he wanted not because he was very strong but because he attacked suddenly and the immortal goddess sacred sect hadn't reacted yet. If they reacted, he would be at the disadvantage. Even now, a few powerful spirit sense locked onto him and were getting closer. An extremely powerful spirit sense scanned over from afar and pierced onto Yi Mo's spirit sense domain. Even though Yi Mo's Spirit Will 9 transformations reached level 5 and had his simple spirit sense realm, he couldn't help shiver under this powerful spirit sense. Even the immortal goddess peak stage body couldn't endure such piercing from this spirit sense. This was definitely a Tao essence master. Yi Mo's heart sunk. He knew that immortal goddess sacred sect had Tao essence divine emperor, but didn't expect she would be out this quickly. He wasn't even scared of Tao actualization divine emperor peak stage, but if a Tao actualization divine emperor came, it would be impossible for him to take away Mu Xiaoyun quickly. He had to avoid direct contact with Tao essence divine emperor or he would sink himself in the set too. No matter how powerful 3 birth chant was, It couldn't allow a Tao molding Divine Emperor to fight a Tao Essence Divine Emperor. Perhaps if Yi Mo kept cultivating, he would be able to beat Tao Essence Divine Emperor with Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor power. 3 Birth Chant Stealth Method was to transform yourself into everything. It could help avoid Tao Essence Divine Emperor lockdown. Yi Mo instantly changed direction and stealthed himself. A mere Tao molding Divine Emperor hiding his power to Immortal Emperor, and you dare to startle me? Has the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect fallen to this degree? In a distant cultivation home in the sect, an unhappy voice sounded. Yi Mo was full of killing intent and his essence Kai spilled. That Tao Essence Divine Emperor saw through Yi Mo's real cultivation level. Yuehe is worried. That person killed Martial Sister Hyan in just a few moves, sect leader. The Grand Elder interrupted. Go tell Jisini, if she needs me to go for a Tao molding Divine Emperor, there's no point of her being a sect leader and there's no point for our sect to exist. Might as well just dissipate now. Yes, sect leader, Shu Yuehe replied respectfully and left carefully. This Grand Elder would never expect that Yi Mo was a Tao molding Divine Emperor who could easily kill Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor and fight with Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. She took away her spirit sense too early, or she would find that it was extremely hard for her to find Yi Mo's tracks too. What is going on? Jisini stood before the Immortal Goddess Peak with a green face. The 2 Immortal Goddesses who were kicked by Yi Mo stood before her. Sect leader, a man who is very powerful, is looking for Mu Xiaoyun. Martial Sister Hyan was killed in a few moves by him. They said shakily. Hearing Mu Xiaoyun, Jisini frowned. You're saying he's here for Mu Xiaoyun? What's his name? I don't know. The Immortal Goddess said worriedly. Jisini even forgot to find Yi Mo. She suddenly had a bad feeling. Mu Xiaoyun was just an solo cultivator from the immortal realm. How could she have such a powerful friend in the divine Tao realm? Sect leader, the Grand Elder said, she said that it's only a Tao molding Divine Emperor, if our divine sect no longer needs to exist. Shu Yuehe flew over and said, I understand. Jisini waved her hand. If a mere Tao molding Divine Emperor needed the Tao Essence Divine Emperor of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect to intervene, then this Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect was too weak. Master, Ji-Shi who got news came from the Immortal Goddess Peak. Jisini recounted what happened and asked Ruoshi, who do you think this person is? According to what I know, he might be a very insane Tao molding Divine Emperor. His power would be no weaker than mine. Even the Grand Elder thinks he's only a Tao molding Divine Emperor, but he could instantly kill Hyan. This is unexplainable. Then, Jisini said to the 2 Immortal Goddesses, draw out the image of this person. She knew what her master meant. She was asking her if this Tao molding Divine Emperor was related to Mu Xiaoyun's husband. The 2 agreed and waved their hands, drawing out Yi Mo's face in the air. She looked dazedly at Yi Mo's face and said nothing. Seeing this, Jisini's heart sunk. She had a bad feeling. She said to the 2, you 2 may leave first. After the 2 left, she said slowly, Master, this person is Yi Mo. I didn't expect he could survive falling into the life-crippling river. He's too insane. Sigh. Jishi's tone grew very heavy. Yi Mo could even kill Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor easily, much less a Tao molding Divine Emperor. This person is very powerful and doesn't accept threats. He treats people who treat him nicely the same way. I couldn't notice his stealth cultivation method even now. Now that our sect offended him. It's clearly a life or death situation. Jisini frowned a lot and said after a while, Yi Mo is indeed powerful. I saw him kill Hyan with my spirit sense. But his strongest magic artifact is the 36 lightning sea god orbs. If we suppress that, he wouldn't be able to escape. The Grand Elder is right. If I can't even handle a Tao molding Divine Emperor, then the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect no longer needs to exist. What? Ji-Shi dazed. Even she didn't expect Yi Mo had 36 lightning sea god robs. Master, you're saying that Yi Mo's 36 lightning orbs were very powerful? Ji-Shi asked. Jisini nodded. That's right. The 36 orbs are no weaker than prenatal spirit treasure. Perhaps it is prenatal spirit treasure. Its force is amazing. Before instant second power was activated, Hyan was killed. Such deep calculations. She finally realized that the lightning orbs Yimo took out at the Wuding Valley was fake. The real ones were already spirit-controlled by him. It was fake, and that's why Yimo took it out so generously. What's going on? Sinny asked, seeing Shi's face was so heavy. Shi sighed. Master, Yimo's most powerful mean definitely isn't the lightning orbs but something much more terrifying. What is it? Sinny had this deep concern in her mind and asked desperately. It's Great Primordial God Rune. He knows Great God Art. Great Primordial God Rune. Shi's tone went coarse. She was worried about things happening with Mu Xiaoyun here. If there was one person Yimo didn't want to be enemies with, that would be Yimo. Every impossible thing became possible in his hands. Black Lake was spirit control, Wuding Valley was opened, the life-crippling bridge was cross. The more she thought, the more scared she was. What? Sinny called out in shock. She was shocked at Great Primordial God Rune. She said slowly, from what I guess, his most powerful mean isn't even Great Primordial God Rune. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2095 Depth of Prison Door Mountain. Chapter 2095 Depth of Prison Door Mountain. Sinny heard of how terrifying Yimo was from Shi, but no matter how scary he was, he fell in the life-crippling river, so he was no longer scary. Now that Yimo wasn't dead, she began to feel abysmal. The reason that she felt this was because she knew her disciple was very prideful. No matter how talented a prodigy, she didn't consider highly of him. But she looked so highly of this Yimo. Great Primordial God Rune was a fearsome ancient great god art. Those who heard its name were scared. Yet she said that Yimo's greatest means wasn't the Great Primordial God Rune. How could she calm down now? I believe any divine emperor would know how terrifying the Great Primordial God Rune is. Ruoshi, did you get things wrong? Yimo has a god art more powerful than Great Primordial God Rune? Then isn't our Tao Essence Divine Emperor no match for him? Sinny asked. She said slowly. Master, I'm not saying Yimo has a god art stronger than the Great Primordial God Rune, but because he just learned the Great Primordial God Rune, even if just learned it, ordinary divine emperors can't take on Great Primordial God Rune. Sinny said. She hesitated and said, I guess that Yimo has Golden Bow of Divine Extermination and has at least 3 arrows. What? Sinny completely lost her calm. If Yimo completely spirit-controlled the arrow, then even she can't last 3 arrows. Master, you don't need to worry. Even if Yimo has Golden Bow of Divine Extermination, I believe he wouldn't be able to spirit-control it all. She comforted. Sinny didn't think so lightly of this. Even if she defended against the 36 orbs and dodged the Great Primordial God Rune, can she dodge the Golden Arrow of Divine Extermination? This meant that she would most likely lose to Yimo, thinking about how she was a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor peak stage and yet was more likely to lose to a Tao Molding Divine Emperor. Sinny felt very defeated. Sect leader, I think we should give Xiaoyun back to Yimo, and, Shu Yuehe said. She knew the sect was in a dangerous spot. Great Sun God Mountain was up here and now they offended Yimo. How is Mu Xiaoyun? Sinny knew that Mu Xiaoyun was the key, but there was no way she would give Mu Xiaoyun back to Yimo like this. No matter how strong Yimo was, he was just one person. Sinny was thinking about how to get Yimo to hate Great Sun God Mountain. That way they could avoid conflict with Yimo and send Great Sun God Mountain a big enemy. I've arranged Xiaoyun. Even if Yimo finds Immortal Goddess Peak, he wouldn't be able to find Xiaoyun. Plus, I've shut all the restrictions there, Yimo wouldn't be able to go in. She answered. Sinny nodded and just wanted to tell all the divine emperors of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect to gather, but more than 10 dashing lights already came. Clearly, the divine emperors of Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect already knew what happened. Wang Nanshuang's cultivation level was very high. She was also Tao Actualization Divine Emperor and was one who hated evil martial uncle Nanshuang. She bowed. Wang Nanshuang sneered, is our Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect still the same sect as before? So what if the Great Sun God Mountain is here? Why should our sect give a saint who lost her virginity to them? Sect leader, if this continues, what face does our sect have to exist in the divine Tao realm? Wang Nanshuang, how dare you reproach the sect leader? Another woman yelled at Wang Nanshuang. Martial sister Nanshuang, Mu Xiaoyun isn't our real disciple, she's a woman who lost her virginity. Another Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor came out and said. Wang Nanshuang didn't seem to hear these two and sneered we shouldn't have Mu Xiaoyun as saint in the first place. Since we did, we should treat her as the real saint and not give her to the great sun god mountain. Even if we drain our last blood, we shouldn't lower our heads to the great sun god mountain. Martial uncle, the person who charged into our sect and killed Haiyan isn't people from the great sun god mountain but Xiaoyun's Tao partner, he's called Yimo, Shu Yuehe explained. What? These divine emperors were shocked. They realized what happened. They wanted to sacrifice Mu Xiaoyun and now her Tao partner was fighting over here. Wang Nanshuang's face was green. She felt this was a humiliation of the immortal goddess sacred sect. All those years ago Saint Qing used her great mercy to sacrifice herself to save the entire divine Tao realm. Where did that ideology go? What did she see now? Can the current immortal goddess sacred sect even be called a divine sect? Sect leader, why don't we give Xiaoyun to the great sun god mountain divine emperor and then spill this news to Yimo? That way, Yimo would hunt that Tao actualization divine emperor. That way, our sect can watch on the side. If Yimo kills that Tao actualization divine emperor, it would be great, another divine emperor said. Shut up, can you only think of such ways? Do you not feel it's embarrassing? Since Yimo is here killing at our sect, we'll just kill him. Using Xiaoyun as a bait, is this something our sect should do? Wang Nanshuang's face worsened. Ji Xini felt very uncomfortable. She thought so too, but Wang Nanshuang's attitude didn't respect her as a sect leader at all. Yimo didn't dare to even scan his spirit sense, fearing he would be found Byt Hat Tao Essence Divine Emperor. The place he was at now suddenly went cold. Yimo didn't like this place. He didn't expect the immortal goddess sacred sect had such a place, but he didn't leave immediately. He was thinking about how to get into the immortal goddess peak. 15 minutes later, Yimo decided to send out his spirit sense. A short hill appeared in his spirit sense and Yimo saw the 3 words Prison Door Mountain. This place was very bleak and there was chaotic Kai cutting at his spirit sense, making him feel very uncomfortable. The yin fire kept invading his essence spirit. Yimo felt that if he stayed here for long, his sea of consciousness would be heavily injured. Yimo's spirit sense went inside the mountain and noticed countless restrictions there. Some were clear, some were subtle, some were natural. A pale-faced beautiful woman was locked up here. Her restrictions were simple. Yimo sighed. The immortal goddess sacred sect did all sorts of bad things in the dark. This woman definitely received the harshest punishment in the world. Even with his powerful spirit sense, he felt the countless yin fire burning his essence spirit. How could ordinary people bear this place? The cold and impure Kai made people's cultivation level drop. If a person locked up here was a primordial essence divine emperor, then with enough time, he would be dead for sure. Yimo didn't care about the locked-up woman, his spirit sense scanned another underground prison. There were all sorts of restrictions, but Yimo pierced them with his spirit sense blades. His spirit sense fell in the deepest and largest part of the mountain. There were black chains there. There were some bones under the chains. Yimo saw those bones and suddenly had this indescribable sad feeling. Yimo frowned. He wasn't planning to go there, but these few white bones changed his mind. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2096 Immortal Goddess Peak. Chapter 2096 Immortal Goddess Peak. The Immortal Goddess Peak would definitely be surrounded by the Tao Essence Divine Emperor Spirit Sense. Yimo had decided to take these few bones and metal chains. The Prison Door Mountain had no one to guard it and was at the depth of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Yimo had no concerns, he already had conflict with the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. He didn't care at all. He charged in the depth of the prison door mountain quickly and broke into this cell. It was filled with yin fire invisible to the eye and even spirit sense. Yimo had never seen such terrifying yin fire. They seemed to be able to burn into the depth of the soul, making sea of consciousness and essence spirit cripple. Life disappeared quickly in this bleak fire. Such an evil place. Yimo didn't dare to stay here for long. He released Zishu and hacked on the black chains. Black sparks flew out and there was just a shallow mark left on the chain. Yimo's heart sunk. He hacked Zishu with his full power but couldn't even break some chains. These chains were too powerful. This was really troublesome for Yimo. If he knew this earlier, he would have spirit-controlled Murder Dao. If he spirit-controlled Murder Dao spear, he would definitely be able to break the chains here. The white bones jumped around when Yimo hacked, and this gave Yimo a strange feeling of sadness. Yimo didn't see any heads here, just a few white bones locked by the chains. Because the yin fire was heavier in here, Yimo didn't hesitate and released Golden Bow of Divine Extermination. Yimo shot out 6 arrows in an extremely short time. Yimo had never shot with the Golden Bow of Divine Extermination at such a close range. The 6 consecutive exploded out annihilation kai that completely tore open the yin fire in the prison. Rumble, 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 rumble. The chains completely exploded. A feeling of weakness came. Yimo casually put away the golden bone arrows and took out an extremely big jade box, putting these white bone arrows inside. After this, Yimo didn't stop at all and smashed away the restrictions and flew out. At this moment, he was feeling weak. He had to recover first and then charge up the immortal goddess peak. After Yimo charged halfway, a spirit sense came your Yimo. Yimo knew that the only live person in the entire place was that beautiful woman. Yimo felt strange and shocked that this woman knew his name. Theoretically, no one here knew he was called Yimo. There was only 2 people who knew his name was Yimo in the immortal goddess sacred sect. One was Lei Yuehe, but she was at Changfei Divine Dao City. The other was Ji Shi, who should still be at the life-crippling Forbidden Grounds. How did this woman, whom he had never seen before, know him? Yimo stopped and asked this woman, "Who are you? How do you know my name?" "You're really Yimo?" the woman asked in surprise and joy. This woman was Lan Chilan. She just guessed and didn't expect this man was really Yimo. Xiaoyun had shown her an image of Yimo before, but there were way too many similar-looking people in the world. Plus, according to what Xiaoyun said, her husband should not be on the same level as this man. Yimo frowned. "I'm Lan Chilan, Xiaoyun's master. Xiaoyun showed me your image, but your power level is heavens apart from what Xiaoyun said. That's why I'm suspicious." Lan Chilan calmed down. Yimo said slowly, "You're Xiaoyun's master, why would you be locked up here? With the yin fire burning your soul, you would eventually die without a soul." Lan Chilan sighed. "Xiaoyun was no longer a virgin, but I took her in. Then, Martial Sister Yunhui wanted to recommend Xiaoyun to be saint. I immediately objected, but Xiaoyun still couldn't get rid of that identity. But because I offended Martial Sister Yunhui, I was locked up here. This bitch, if I knew this, I shouldn't have let her leave. I should have killed her." Yimo didn't expect Yunhui was behind Xiaoyun being a saint. If he saw Yunhui again, he would definitely not let her go. He had already offended the immortal goddess sacred sect, it didn't matter if he killed more. "What? You fought with Martial Sister Yunhui and she was no match for you?" Lan Chilan asked in shock. Then, she started to think about how Yimo came in. Yimo fought with Yunhui and charged into the prison door mountain, clearly not through normal means. He probably fought his way in. Thinking about this, Yimo could kill Yunhui and slaughtered the immortal goddess sacred sect. Lan Chilan shivered. "I'll save you." Yimo released Zishu. He felt the chains locking her were much weaker than the ones before. "I don't need you to save me. Did you kill people in my sect?" Lan Chilan's tone went cold. Yimo knew what she meant and sneered, "Kill in your sect. Xiaoyun is used to be sent to the great sun god mountain as a sacrifice for the mountain. If I can't save Xiaoyun, do you think I will just be killing people at your sect? I will make the immortal goddess sacred sect disappear forever from the divine Dao realm and annihilate both the immortal goddess sacred sect and great sun god mountain." Then, Yimo sliced down with Zishu and the chains instantly broke apart. The next moment, Yimo disappeared from this prison. He didn't care if Lan Chilan would come out. At this moment, Yimo just wanted to recover a bit and charge up the immortal goddess peak. 15 minutes later, Yimo stopped stealthing himself and dashed towards the immortal goddess peak. At the same time, Yimo locked onto the 36 lightning orbs and golden bow of divine extermination, ready to release them at any time. Stop! A blue figure landed before Yimo and released a strand of holy light wheel but didn't attack first. Yimo didn't care, he would kill anyone who stopped him. Yimo was also shocked, the immortal goddess sacred sect was indeed powerful. This random person was a Tao actualization divine emperor. He waved out the 36 lightning orbs. Yimo didn't know that even the immortal goddess sacred sect only had 5 Tao actualization divine emperors. Seeing Yimo attack without talking, the woman was furious. Her holy light wheel smashed out like a huge spider web covering half the skies. Countless light emitted from the net. This was an extremely powerful Tao actualization divine emperor. Yimo could tell from her first god art. The stronger this person was, the quicker he had to kill her or he would be trapped soon. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2097 Great Battle at Immortal Goddess Peak. Chapter 2097 Great Battle at Immortal Goddess Peak. The 36 lightning orbs shot out countless lightning. The rolling thunder completely covered the bottom of the Immortal Goddess Peak. Before, when Yimo killed the Tao molding divine emperor, the orb's power wasn't activated, but now, it was fully released. The silken holy light wheel was the opposite to the lightning orbs. The tens of thousands of strands of light struck the lightning, creating this cracking sound. These sounds blasted ripples across the nearby space. Another rumble blasted open and finally a fine crack in space appeared. The woman was smashed away a few kilometers before stopping. Blood seeped out of the corner of her mouth. At the same time, she stared at Yimo with shock. She heard Yimo was only Tao molding divine emperor, but she didn't expect a Tao molding divine emperor was stronger than her. Yimo's heart sunk. He wasn't happy at all for having the upper hand. He used all 36 orbs, but this woman blocked it and left its attack range. If he didn't kill this woman, he definitely wouldn't be able to get on Immortal Goddess Peak. Yimo knew that he couldn't be stalled here. Yimo had decided to keep attacking her with the lightning orbs and then bind her before using Great Primordial God Rune to kill her. Just as Yimo thought, this woman released a white long sword. Stop! Just when they were going to keep fighting, a coarse voice sounded and a figure landed. It was Mu Xiaoyun's master. She seemed to treat Mu Xiaoyun nicely, so Yimo stopped. The blue-robed woman stopped too, as she clearly knew that she was no match for Yimo. Yimo, you can't fight with martial sister Nanchuang. She offended a lot of people to stop Mu Xiaoyun from being saint. I don't know what happened later on, but I am certain she didn't do anything wrong. Lan Chilan said genuinely. WN Nanchuang looked at Lan Clan in confusion. Chilan, how did you come out? I cut her chains. Yimo said with a bit of embarrassment. He was planning to kill this woman when she was protecting Xiaoyun. Lan Chilan sighed. It has nothing to do with Yimo. I want to as the sect leader. Our immortal goddess sacred sect is no longer a divine sect. Even if the great sun god mountain attacks us, at most we die. What we're doing won't be approved by our martial ancestor and Saint Qing. Yimo was apologetic, but now wasn't the time for this. He quickly said, I'll be going first, I'll come to apologize later. Then, he instantly charged up the immortal goddess peak. The two didn't even have a time to stop her. WN Nanchuang just wanted to stop Yimo, but Lan Chilan said, martial sister Nanchuang, I feel it's better to let Yimo take Xiaoyun away. I left without planning to live. If the great sun god mountain uses this excuse to attack our immortal goddess sacred sect, then there's only death. WN Nanchuang fell silent for a long while and sighed. In the immortal goddess peak, there were all sorts of restrictions and formations squeezed together. If it was someone else, he would definitely not be able to find Xiaoyun. But Yi Mo was different. He was a formation grandmaster and his Spirit Will 9 transformations reached level 5 realm formation. Spirit Sense God Art was very easy, much less Spirit Sense blades. Yi Mo's Spirit Sense blades tore through everywhere with Spirit Sense God Art and damaged the peak relentlessly. The thickly covered Immortal Goddess peak was instantly ruined. If Ji Sini was here, she might fight Yi Mo with her life. 10 seconds later, Yi Mo's heart sunk. He had damaged most of the restrictions on here, but he still didn't find Xiaoyun. After looking for another while, Yi Mo got the conclusion that Mu Xiaoyun was not here. Yi Mo's killing intent soared. Clearly, the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect people moved Xiaoyun away because they knew he was here. Then don't blame him for slaughtering this place. So what if there was a Tao Essence Divine Emperor? He didn't believe a Tao Essence Divine Emperor could do anything to him. If he can't beat her, he can run. He would slaughter everywhere until the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect gave Xiaoyun. Yi Mo damaging the restrictions of the Immortal Goddess peak immediately caught the attention of Ji Sini. She looked from afar and was shaking with anger. Since when was the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect abused to this degree? She clearly sensed what Yi Mo was doing too. Her face looked bad. She was indeed concerned with Yi Mo, but this didn't mean Yi Mo could be this rude at the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Just when Ji Sini wanted everyone to surround the Immortal Goddess peak and take Yi Mo down, a grey figure stumbled in. Yun Huai. Ji Sini looked dazedly at this woman. It was Yun Huai who dropped to Tao molding Divine Emperor. She dazed because she saw that Yun Huai lost her virginity, and this was not long ago. She even has a sliver of male Kai on her. Ji Sini noticed this too, and clearly all the other Divine Emperors did. At this moment, this place was silent. Yun Huai hated women who lost their virginity he most, but now she did too, and she came back to the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Seeing the Divine Emperors stare at her, Yun Huai wanted to dig a hole in the ground. In order to flee back to the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect quickly, she used a transmission rune, but there were so many Divine Emperors gathered here. Ji Sini saw Yun Huai's predicament but didn't ask her about it. She yelled, "Trap the Immortal Goddess peak and kill Yi." Yun Huai just realized that there was trouble at the sect. Before she could ask, a Divine Emperor she was close to sound transmission to her. A man charged into out sect. It said his Xiaoyun's Tao partner. This person had killed Haiyan already and is now on the Immortal Goddess peak. Then, she even showed Yi Mo's looks to Yun Huai. "It's him." Yun Huai dazed a moment and charged at the Immortal Goddess peak like mad. She was heavily injured by Yi Mo, and then a half-divine stole her virginity. Now that Yi Mo was here, how could she let him go? Seeing this, the other Divine Emperors chased over too. Yi Mo charged out of the peak hurriedly. Xiaoyun wasn't here, and the person who most likely took her away was Ji Shi or the sect leader. As soon as Yi Mo charged out of the residence of the saint on the peak, he felt a sliver of familiar Kai instantly. Yi Mo realized that Kai was the necklace he made for Xiaoyun. It was a long time ago, but it was still something he made. Yi Mo rejoiced like mad. If the necklace was here, it meant that Xiaoyun was here. He charged in here too desperately and didn't notice this Kai. These Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect people were indeed cunning. They hid Xiaoyun outside the peak restriction, a blind spot of his search. Yi Mo's spirit sense didn't ravage here as he saw more than 10 Divine Emperor charge up. The leading one was Yun Huai, but she was now Tao molding Divine Emperor. Yun Huai's heart was filled with hatred, but when she saw Yi Mo hack Zishu over, she realized she was far from a match for Yi Mo, much less her power had dropped to Tao molding Divine Emperor now. Yi Mo's Divine Emperor domain expanded out like crazy. A purple lightning shot out, bringing out 100 kilometers of purple ray lethal force. Yun Huai was defenseless. She didn't even have time to release the 108 wind fire sand and was completely covered by the purple sword ray. Death loomed over her. She had completely lost the will to defend. She looked dazedly as the purple ray sliced across the heaven. At the last moment, she was actually thinking about the man who pressed her under him. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2098 Both Injured. Chapter 2098 Both injured. A bloodlight flashed, making the Divine Emperors and Ji-Sini stop. They both looked at this splashed blood in shock. A Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect died this easily to Yi Mo. Our Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect will fight you to death, Ji-Sini yelled crazily. Her wool 5-color cloth was thrown out. 5 lights smashed at Yi Mo. Yi Mo felt that his Zishu was about to leave his contro. Yi Mo was very shocked. Seeing Yi Mo kill Yunhui and the sect leader attack Yi Mo like crazy, the rest of the Divine Emperors released their magic artifact and attacked Yi Mo. Wang Nanshuang, who came later, also joined the battle. She let out a messenger flying sword and also released her lotus stand. Yi Mo faced more than 10 Divine Emperors, and there were 3 Tao Actualization Divine Emperors amongst them. No matter how strong Yi Mo's domain was, it couldn't stop the combined domain of more than 10 Divine Emperors. His domain was instantly torn open. Yi Mo spat a few mouthfuls of essence blood. The 36 lightning orbs turned into an endless lightning abyss and spread out. The countless magic artifact smashed on the lightning barrier. Every time the lightning orbs were attacked, Yi Mo would receive backlash. If it wasn't that his body was too strong, those backlash would be enough to make his soul disappear. Even so, Yi Mo kept spitting blood and the lightning orb barrier became shaky and could be smashed to pieces at any time. Yi Mo really wanted to counter-attack, but it was extremely hard for him to even defend himself. A red axe broke Yi Mo's lightning barrier and hacked towards Yi Mo's waist, but Yi Mo didn't seem to see it and smashed 2 great primordial god runes at Ji-Sini. If he wanted to counter-attack, he would have to get injured. This was unavoidable. Plus Yi Mo risked his life to attack Ji-Sini because he sensed Mu Xiaoyun's soul on Ji-Sini. Yi Mo immediately thought that this was how Ji-Sini subjugated Mu Xiaoyun to do anything she wanted. Or if Mu Xiaoyun wanted to suicide, Ji-Sini would know at any time. Knowing this, how could Yi Mo still stay sane? My Tao Great Primordial, the primordial of form. Great primordial god rune, tear apart the world and destroy all existence. The clearly visible runes twisted the space between Yi Mo and Ji-Sini. It had this world-breaking force that loomed over Ji-Sini. All space bindings, Divine Emperor domains were like bubbles to these 2 runes. Great primordial god rune, Ji-Sini called out in shock but found that she couldn't move one bit. When Yi Mo was only an immortal emperor, he used 2 great primordial god runes to kill Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor Bian Xinda. Now that Yi Mo reached Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, his great primordial god rune was even stronger. Splurge. A bloodlight flashed from Yi Mo's waist that almost cut Yi Mo in half. There was clear bone cracking sound, but Yi Mo didn't even look at it. Yi Mo, stop. Mu Xiaoyun is taken by the great sun god mountain people. Why don't you go get her? If you keep staying here, do you still want her to live? She said quickly. This was what the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect planned already. A few magic artifact light struck the 2 great primordial god runes, tweezing it even more, but it didn't seem as scary as before. Ji-Sini finally eased up a bit. Her figure distorted slightly. Splurge. Another 2 bloodlight flashed out, but this time it wasn't just Yi Mo's blood. One of it was Ji-Sini's blood. Half of her body was hacked off by the 2 great primordial god rune. Yi Mo raised his hand and grabbed out a soul lamp from that half of the body. She barely stopped the second rune with her cloth. But the cloth dimmed down due to that rune. The second bloodlight came from Yi Mo. She's 9 lotus stand sliced through Yi Mo's shoulder. Even though Yi Mo was immortal god body and the lotus stand was blocked by the 36 orbs once, Yi Mo's arm was still sliced open. Due to him being immortal goddess peak stage, his arm didn't break. This all happened in the blink of an eye. The moment Yi Mo grabbed the soul lamp, 2 more beams shot at his chest. Yi Mo knew that if he stayed here he would await death. No matter how strong he was no match for this many people. When I kill the great sun god mountain people and save Sioaean, I will come back for you all. Yi Mo took the 36 lightning orbs and instant transmissioned away. Master, she immediately came to Ji-Sini, helping her connect her body while sending a few pills into her mouth. A few people were going to hunt Yi Mo, but Ji-Sini said no one chase after this person. Those few divine emperors immediately woke up. Yi Mo was going to hunt the great sun god mountain people. Even if Yi Mo wasn't heavily injured, it was suicide. Even if Yi Mo didn't die, killing the great sun god mountain people was only good for the immortal goddess sacred sect. The divine emperors glanced at Ji Shi in respect. Ji Shi sent the messenger flying sword clearly to let the great sun god mountain people leave first. Wang Nanshuang and Lan Qilan looked at the blooded ground and was speechless. This was a battle where both sides were heavily injured. Yi Mo wouldn't be able to recover if he didn't have top god spirit items. The immortal goddess sacred sect lost a Tao nourishment divine emperor, and even the sect leader was almost killed. Ji Xini's body was connected, but it was now probably impossible for her to reach Tao essence divine emperor. Through that Mu Xiaoyun into the depth of the prison door mountain. One Tao nourishment divine emperor said. That's certain death. I think we might as well give her to the great sun god mountain. Regardless if Yi Mo lives or not, let him go to the great sun god mountain to find his Tao partner. Another Tao molding divine emperor said. Ji Xini said slowly, Mu Xiaoyun is dead for sure. When Yi Mo chases out, send her to the great sun god mountain. Lan Qilan opened her mouth and found that she couldn't say anything. She didn't know whether to help Mu Xiaoyun or agree to the sect leader. Lan Qilan, you're quite amazing. You were locked up at the prison door mountain, how can you still appear here? When Yi Mo killed our divine emperor, what did you do? The Tao nourishment divine emperor sneered. Lan Qilan went up and bowed to Ji Xini. Please punish me, sect leader, my sins are great. Martial sister Qilan didn't come out herself. Yi Mo forcefully cut open her chains. Wan Nanshuang said coldly. Ji Xini glanced at Wang Nanshuang and said to Lan Qilan, leave, from today on, you're no longer a member of the immortal goddess sacred sect. Lan Qilan's face went pale, but she didn't rebuke. The immortal goddess sacred sect was the #1 sect in the divine Tao realm, but now she was kicked out. Leave, let's go to the main palace and discuss things. As soon as Yi Mo leaves the immortal goddess sacred sect, close the sect formation. Ji Xini said. Those divine emperors close to Lan Qilan shook, but no one dared to say a thing. Master, I'll go with you. Luo Biue heard this and said immediately. Lan Qilan sighed and nodded. Okay, let's leave together. No one knew that Yi Mo didn't chase out. Instead, he came to the prison door mountain and was here to recover. Ji Shi tried to trick him to fight the great sun god mountain, but he wasn't dumb. He wasn't going to let great sun god mountain go for wanting to sacrifice Mu Xiaoyun, but now, he was certain Mu Xiaoyun was still at the immortal goddess peak. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2099 Take Away Xiaoyun. Chapter 2099 Take Away Xiaoyun. In a distant corner at the immortal goddess sacred sect, a white-haired woman sat on a dark stone cushion with a sad face. This white-faced woman was the Tao essence divine emperor. Ji Xini asked for help. But her body below her knees had disappeared. Even her upper body lost an arm. If it wasn't to give the immortal goddess sacred sect a sliver of hope, she would have went into samsara already. Perhaps I should really go. After a while, the white-haired woman murmured. Whether it was the great sun god mountain divine emperor being cocky at the immortal goddess sacred sect or what Yi Mo did, nothing could be hidden from her, but there was nothing she could do. Everyone knew that there was Tao essence divine emperor at the immortal goddess sacred sect, but no one knew that this Tao essence divine emperor was a being that couldn't even fight. Yi Mo's injuries were far from recovered, but he snuck into the immortal goddess peak. Although he was still heavily injured, the chaos tree kept healing him. He rushed back so quickly because he knew he had to take Xiaoyun away quickly or he might never find her again. Yi Mo had seen the foundation of the immortal goddess sacred sect. There was a Tao essence divine emperor in the dark and these divine emperors. Yi Mo knew that when the divine emperors gained up on him, not many actually dealt killing blows to him. It was just Ji Xini and a few Tao nourishment divine emperor, or he wouldn't be able to escape at all. They only attacked with full power after he cut half of Ji Xini's body. One could see that Yun Huai wasn't really liked in the sect. He killed her, but not many people hated him. Those divine emperors attacked only when he heavily injured Ji-Sini. She only attacked after that too. The immortal goddess Peak had no one to guard now, and Yimo easily came to the place of the battle again. He let out his spirit sense, and in just a few seconds, he found that sliver of familiarity. Yimo found an ordinary stone, but it was actually a natural dimension. There was also a natural stealth formation on it. If it wasn't that Yimo sensed the Kai from the necklace he made, he wouldn't be able to find this stone. Yimo didn't use spirit sense blades to cut open this stone but just took out a few formation flags. Then, a huge black door appeared before Yimo went in and found a stone bed inside. Mu Xiaoyun slept on the bed with a frown. Clearly, her senses were sealed. Yimo looked at Mu Xiaoyun, who was separated from him since the small world, and felt his nose go sour. He stepped over and carried Mu Xiaoyun. Xiaoyun, I'm here. Yimo's heart was complicated. Even with his Dao vindication power, he couldn't calm his heart. Susu, Qingxue, Jingwen, and Yangzhu all had his help for cultivation. Mu Xiaoyun was the only one he didn't help at all. At most, he gave her a primordial chaos chant. Yimo could even imagine how much torture and longing Mu Xiaoyun went through to come from the cultivation realm to the immortal realm and then the divine Dao realm. He knew that in Mu Xiaoyun's world, he was her world. Xiaoyun, stay with me from now on. Let's go back with Jingwen, Susu, Qingxue, and Yangzhu. Let's never be separated again. Yimo murmured. Xiaoyun's frown gradually eased up. Yimo didn't remove her restriction and just put her in the Golden Page world. To him, he had to leave the immortal goddess sacred sect quickly. After finding Xiaoyun, half of his hatred towards the immortal goddess sacred sect was gone. Yimo left this stone dimension and put away his formation flags before dashing towards the exit of the immortal goddess sacred sect. In the main palace of the immortal goddess sacred sect, all the divine emperors were gathered here. There was actually 31 people. In a place desolate of God spirit Kai and resources, a sect actually had 31 Dao vindication divine emperors. This was very amazing. At the main palace, the place seemed dejected. It wasn't that their power was weakened but their spirit. Yimo ravaged the sect but only killed a Dao molding divine emperor and a Dao nourishment divine emperor. This was nothing important to the immortal goddess sacred sect. But the immortal goddess sacred sect's belief was separated today. Their belief was broken. They were symbolic of the divine Dao realm, but now, they were confused and bewildered by the things they did. Read the next chapter on our VIP novel. Yimo has left the sect. Yuehe, open the sect formation and seal the sect. Ji-Sini was still extremely weak. When Yimo left the sect, he didn't stealth himself at all. Sect leader, we've invited many divine emperors to visit our saint prayer ceremony. If we seal the sect, then, one Dao nourishment divine emperor said. Ji-Sini sighed and said, slowly go explain to them that the great sun god mountain that had hid for countless years suddenly emerged. They want to control the entire divine Dao realm. The immortal goddess sacred sect didn't allow them, and they used this ceremony to kill our saint and a few divine emperors. Everyone immediately realized that with this any divine emperor would side with the immortal goddess sacred sect. Perhaps people would join up to attack the great sun god mountain immediately or rally to them to attack the great sun god mountain. If they want to attack the great sun god mountain and wants us to join, we, the Dao nourishment divine emperor asked. Ji-Sini said the great sun god mountain has nefarious intentions and our sect is symbolic of the divine Dao realm. How can we fall behind on such matter? I understand. This Dao nourishment divine emperor immediately dashed away. The palace fell into silence. There was a sliver of pain in Wang Nanchuang's eyes. She really didn't want to trick those ordinary divine emperors. Even if they attacked the great sun god mountain, it would be suicide. They would at most use up some of great sun god mountain's power. Ji-Sini clearly didn't want the sect to take the great sun god mountain head on. Lenyu, I just you to tell that great sun god mountain Dao actualization divine emperor that our sect will immediately send the saint over. Why did you let him take an immortal goddess? Ji Shi frowned at another Dao nourishment divine emperor. Ji Sini interrupted Ji Shi. This has nothing to do with Lenyu. I let Lenyu give Banyan over. If we don't give them a saint, how can the great sun god mountain leave? If he doesn't leave, how will Yimo chase him? Master, you gave the Saint Qing's necklace the Zhu Sinew to the great sun god mountain? Ji Shi asked shakily. If one didn't stay on the immortal goddess peak, she wouldn't have the Saint Kai. The only thing with a sliver of Saint Kai was the Saint Qing's necklace. Now that the sect leader said giving a saint to the great sun god mountain, clearly, she gave the Zhu Sinew away. Ji Sini sighed. This is a moment of life or death for our sect. I've let Rurong chase over. If the great sun god mountain Tao actualization divine emperor fights with Yimo, it would be fine. If Yimo wins, Rurong will kill Yimo and take back the Zhu Sinew. If the great sun god mountain person wins, Rurong will still kill that person and take it back. Yimo had released the space-time boat and left the range of the immortal goddess sacred sect. Half a day later, Yimo was planning to stop at a place and went the Golden Page world to wake Mu Xiaoyun up when a powerful spirit sense suddenly scanned over and fell on Yimo for a while before suddenly moving over. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2100 Kill Another Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. Chapter 2100 Kill Another Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. Yimo stopped now. He had been out of the immortal goddess sacred sect for more than half a day, so his injuries had pretty much recovered. To him, as long as his essence spirit and sea of consciousness weren't heavily injured, he could recover extremely quickly. Not bad. If I came and you didn't stop, then it wouldn't be good. This Tao actualization divine emperor looked at Yimo and said. The condescension on his eyes were clear. Yimo asked calmly, what do you want with me? Yimo knew who this person was. This Tao actualization divine emperor had an immortal goddess who had similar Kai to Ji Shi. This immortal goddess was just an immortal emperor and her eyes seemed sad. Without needing to ask, Yimo knew this Tao actualization divine emperor was from Great Sun God Mountain. If he trusted Ji Shi that the Great Sun God Mountain people took Xiaoyun, then he definitely wouldn't be able to save Xiaoyun now. The Tao actualization divine emperor's tone became a little cold. I'm the elder of the Great Sun God Mountain. I think you're not bad. If you're willing, I can take you to join the Great Sun God Mountain. The Great Sun God Mountain was about to go to war with the immortal goddess sacred sect. It was good to take in as much immortal emperor pawns like Yimo as possible. Not interested. Yimo said calmly. He was ready to attack. Our Great Sun God Mountain is about to become the #1 sect of the Divine Tao Realm, and we will repair the Divine Tao Realm. It's your fortune to join the Great Sun God Mountain. When the Divine Tao Realm is repaired, you will get a sliver of the fortune and karma. You can even reach Tao Vindication, the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor said seriously. Piss off. Yimo couldn't be bothered talking to this guy anymore. At the same time, he released Zishu. Hearing this, the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor was furious, but he was even more furious that Yimo attacked first. Yimo's Zishu had turned into a 100 kilometers long purple dragon that smashed down. The immortal goddess was swept by Yimo's Divine Emperor domain and flew back tens of kilometers. At the same time, the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor released a huge spear. There were fire dragons circulating around the spear that melted everything nearby immediately. Yimo sneered. Talk about playing with fire. Rumble, the purple dragon smashed with the black flame dragon that tore their domains to pieces. The purple dragon crippled, but so was the flame dragon. You're not an immortal emperor, the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor realized. Yimo definitely wasn't an immortal emperor. How could an immortal emperor take the blow of a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor? Even if you're not an immortal emperor, you have to die today. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor was furious. Seeing Yimo's Zishu could stop his black flame spear, he was interested. Plus, Yimo's flying magic artifact wasn't bad too. The spear swept out a 30 kilometers long flame dragon that completely swept the nearby space. The flame dragon swirled in the air, activating a dominating force that was about to burn everything nearby. If it was some other time, Yimo would definitely use 5-stack wave kill to fight with this person, but now, he didn't have the mood. Yimo went forward a step and waved out tens of hand signs. God Art Ice Space. The countless flame dragons seemed to have been frozen. When the space cracked, the flame dragons were completely torn. Cracks sounded non-stop in the space and frozen flame pieces fell down. The endless heat wave disappeared. What remained was terrifying frost. What god art is this? The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor looked at this in disbelief. Yimo waved out another god art. The sky didn't seem as cold before. The space seemed to slow down before eventually pausing. Not good, this was Time Law god art. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor was finally shook. He didn't expect a random immortal emperor he saw here mastered time law and had such terrifying god art. At this moment, his soul almost left his body due to shock. He forcefully burned his essence Kai and broke free from Yimo's instant second god art. As soon as they clashed, he had an extreme lower hand. He didn't dare to think of Yimo as an insect anymore. The black fire spear whined, and before he could attack Yimo again, 2 distorted runes came before him. Great Primordial God Rune. Seeing these 2 runes, the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor's eyes became red. He punched out Eagle Emperor Fist. This was his killing blow. Ripples formed in space with this punch. This punch bound this entire space but then brought this bound space and smashed onto the 2 great primordial god runes. Rumble, crack crack, this fist force smashed on the first rune and this bound space dissipated in the distorted great primordial god rune. The second great primordial god rune tore the fist to pieces and extended down. In the blink of an eye, it reached down into his arm and then shoulder. Crack. In an explosion, half the body of this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor exploded. This Tao Actualization Divine Emperor was scared soulless and didn't dare to keep fighting Yimo. He dashed away quickly. Yimo sneered and the golden bow of divine extermination appeared in his hands. He flung out 2 golden arrows. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor just flew out 10,000 kilometers and was locked on by this lethal force. He didn't dare to move a step as he knew all the life force around him had been taken away. Show. These 2 golden rays instantly came behind the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor and tore open his Divine Emperor domain. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor could only use his remaining hand to grab an arrow. The only person Yimo had seen who could stop the golden bone arrow was the Truth Divine Emperor. Yimo was still shocked even now. Truth Divine Emperor was so much stronger than ordinary Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, and that was him without any magic artifact. The golden bone arrow blasted the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor's hands. The next moment, the second arrow came and turned this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor to pieces. Yimo took the 2 golden bone arrows and a storage ring and stared at a dashing Tao Actualization Divine Emperor woman but didn't chase her. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2101 Xiaoyun Waking Up. Chapter 2101 Xiaoyun Waking Up. Yimo didn't need to chase to know that woman was the fisherman the immortal goddess sacred sect sent. Seeing he wasn't easy to mess with, she left. He didn't have the time and power to deal with the immortal goddess sacred sect now, but eventually, he would erase that sect. That immortal emperor immortal goddess came back to her senses and a little life force appeared in her eyes. She was shocked how an immortal emperor dared to be rude to a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, but when the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor finally died, she realized why. Immortal goddess sacred sect Banyan greet Chen Bei, thank you for saving my life. This immortal goddess quickly said. Yimo smiled. I'm not saving you. I have no good impression of the immortal goddess sacred sect. How can I save you? You can say you're just a bit lucky. This Banyan didn't argue and said, is Chen Bei Saint Xiaoyun's Tao partner Yimo? I am. Yimo said calmly. Banyan took off the zhu sinew from her neck and gave it to Yi Mo. This is a sacred object that the Saint Qing used to wear. Please give this to Xiaoyun, she's the saint. Only she can wear this. Yi Mo took it and immediately knew this thing wasn't ordinary. It had a faint Dao wave Kai and this sacred and holy Kai. What are you going to do when you go back? Yi Mo subconsciously asked. Banyan laughed. The sect is no longer the sect from before. I'm no longer an immortal goddess, I'm going. Farewell Qian Bei. Then Banyan turned to leave. Clearly she wasn't planning on going back to the immortal goddess sacred sect. What the sect did hurt her respect towards the sect. Wait, Yi Mo stopped her and gave the storage ring he robbed over. You can have this, hope you reach Dao vindication soon. Banyan dazed and quickly said, Qian Bei, this is too precious. Wan Bei can't take it. She saw with her own eyes Yi Mo take this storage ring from the great Sun God Mountain Dao artifact Divine Emperor Peak. Yi Mo gave the storage ring to her and said, you deserve this. Good luck. Then Yi Mo disappeared, leaving behind a dazed Banyan. After a while, Banyan released her flying magic artifact and disappeared too. Yi Mo knew this zhu sinew was precious. 100 times more precious than the storage ring he gave over. In an ordinary valley 1,000,000 kilometers from the immortal goddess sacred sect, Yi Mo entered the golden page world again. Mu Xiaoyun was still asleep. Yi Mo took out the soul lamp. Yi Mo was furious seeing this soul lamp again. Clearly, it didn't need one soul to be lit, just a sliver of spirit will was needed. That bastard sect leader took half Xiaoyun's soul. Even if he killed her, Yi Mo couldn't vent his hate. The next moment, Yi Mo grabbed that soul and sent it into Xiaoyun's essence spirit. With this, her essence spirit immediately became more real. Yi Mo was about to crush the soul LMAP, but he found that even if he used force, he couldn't crush it. Yi Mo was very annoyed and threw the soul lamp onto Blue like morning sky. Little Blue, melt this lamp and get ready to forge my Zishu. Yi. Little Blue made an excited sound. Yi Mo was a restriction and formation master, so the restrictions on Mu Xiaoyun couldn't trouble him. In a short time, Yi Mo completely removed her restrictions. Mu Xiaoyun felt this steadiness. It was as though something missing from her came back. Her face was brighter than before and her consciousness clearer. When she opened her eyes and saw Yi Mo appear before her. However, her reaction wasn't surprise and joy. Instead, her eyes went red. If I knew earlier than dying would let me see you, I would have long come. Mu Xiaoyun reached out her hand and wanted to touch Yi Mo's face. Her heart was filled with agony. She could die, but she didn't want Yi Mo to die. She had a sliver of hope, and that was Yi Mo didn't die in the life-crippling river. But now that she saw Yi Mo, clearly it was because Yi Mo died. She killed herself. Yi Mo immediately realized what she meant. She definitely tried to suicide but was sealed by Ji Shi. Luckily Ji Shi did that, or Xiaoyun would have really died. Yi Mo sat next to her and embraced her. Xiaoyun, don't worry, we're not dead. I took you out of the immortal goddess sacred sect, you'll be fine from now on. Mu Xiaoyun's hands suddenly stopped. She used her spirit sense and immediately realized that she really didn't die. Not only that, her soul became whole again. Husband, Mu Xiaoyun said shakily, not daring to believe this was real. We're really not dead. She realized this was reality. Neither of them were dead. This inexpressible joy in her heart made her unable to speak. Whimper. Mu Xiaoyun could no longer control the joy and excitement in her heart. She just hugged Yi Mo and completely forgot about everything else. After a long while, Mu Xiaoyun calmed down and kept asking if Yi Mo was hurt or threatened by the immortal goddess sacred sect. After Yi Mo said he and her master were fine, she finally calmed down and began to recount her story ever since she was forced by Elder Feng of Ice Lake. Mu Xiaoyun, who rarely spoke, finally spoke her many years of story. Time flows slowly like this. Most of the time, it was Mu Xiaoyun speaking and Yi Mo listening. Hearing this, Yi Mo felt for the first time that life was full even when he wasn't cultivating. Great Sun God Mountain. Although they weren't very famous in the divine Dao realm these years, it didn't meant that their power wasn't strong. When their sect formation opened, instant second force was no weaker than the immortal goddess sacred sect. In some places, It even surpassed the immortal goddess sacred sect. The immortal goddess sacred sect dares to kill our great sun god mountain Tao actualization divine emperor. In the main palace of the great sun god mountain, an elder rose up. At the same time, the atmosphere in the immortal goddess sacred sect was dense. When Yi Mo didn't have conflict with the great sun god mountain, they tried everything for the two to fight, but now that Yi Mo really killed the Tao actualization divine emperor of the great sun god mountain, the immortal goddess sacred sect fell silent. Rurong, recount precisely how Yi Mo killed great sun god mountain Tao actualization divine emperor Yang Po. Are you certain he used golden bow of divine extermination? Ji Sini said slowly. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2102 Shu Yu Dao Essence. Chapter 2102 Shu Yu Dao Essence. A blue-robed Dao actualization divine emperor said seriously, I'm certain I saw it right. It was definitely the golden bow of divine extermination. He killed Yang Po with 2 arrows. Not only that, he used great primordial god rune to heavily injure Yang Po first. He even used time law god art. However, my spirit sense was blocked by his domain and couldn't see inside. Great primordial god rune time law and golden bow of divine extermination as well as lightning sea god orbs, space god art. Ji Sini took in a cold breath. She suddenly felt that she made a mistake making Mu Xiaoyun the saint. As soon as someone like Yi Mo became a Dao essence divine emperor, who would be a match for him in the divine Dao realm? Offending such a person pretty much meant you needed to get ready to be annihilated. If the great sun god mountain needed to think about all sorts of factors when annihilating the immortal goddess sacred sect, then Yi Mo could do anything as he was just by himself. Is Ruo Shi back? Ji Sini suddenly woke up. Ji, she said before Yi Mo was scary, but she didn't have any direct impression of this. Now, she finally felt it. Luckily the sect has been sealed. Master, I'm back. Ji Shi's voice sounded at the door of the palace. She was sighing. Ever since the sect leader was injured, she didn't seem to be able to focus or she would have known of her arrival. Ji Shi said Xiaoyun had been taken by Yi Mo. Taken away? Ji Sini repeated but then nodded. That's all right. What shall come eventually will come. Xiaoyun, I'll help you wear this. Yi Mo took out the Zhu sinew. Mu Xiaoyun just wanted to say that she was already wearing a necklace and it was the one Yi Mo gave her, but then she saw the Zhu sinew. As the saint, she hadn't seen it but she knew it belonged to Saint Qing. She immediately said in shock, husband, this is the sacred sect's Zhu sinew. It belongs to Saint Qing, how is it in your hands? Yi Mo laughed. The immortal goddess sacred sect dares to use you to sacrifice to the great sun god mountain. This Zhu sinew can be compensation. But, Mu Xiaoyun knew this thing wasn't ordinary but she didn't know what else to say. In her subconsciousness, she felt that nothing her husband did was wrong. Just wear it. Yi Mo stopped her hesitation. MHM. Mu Xiaoyun said nothing. Listening to her husband wouldn't be wrong. After Mu Xiaoyun wore the Zhu sinew, she immediately felt this extremely satisfied feeling as though all the impurities in her body dissipated. Her essence spirit was being refined and her understanding of the world was becoming clearer. This is good indeed. Yi Mo sighed. Mu Xiaoyun said nothing but he felt what Mu Xiaoyun felt through her hand. What is this place? Mu Xiaoyun asked. This is my world, at the Beizi mountain, Yi Mo said. When he fused the golden page world and went unconscious, he stayed with Mu Xiaoyun and it was at that time that Mu Xiaoyun truly became his wife. Yi Mo grabbed the red-faced Xiaoyun and suddenly thought if he should build a place in the golden page world. Regardless, talking was unnecessary now. A day later, Mu Xiaoyun stood outside Kai Wanqing's palace and asked sadly, husband, is this where Sister Wanqing stays? Yi Mo's eyes went dim. Yes, Wanqing lives inside. I didn't take her seriously and let her roam the Shunqiong continent alone. I owe her. Husband, although she's gone, she definitely won't blame you. I've never seen her but I feel I'm so much luckier than her. I can still see you and be together with you, Mu Xiaoyun said. Xiaoyun, I have a time formation disk. I'm in Dao Vindication, so I don't need it much. You can use it. Just stay inside and cultivate. With your talent you will soon be able to catch up to me. Yimo said. Mu Xiaoyun fell silent and looked down. What's wrong? Yimo grabbed her hand and asked. Mu Xiaoyun had always been very obedient and she would never argue against anything he said. Husband, I want to leave a child for you. I don't want to cultivate anymore. Mu Xiaoyun said. She was scared of separating with Yimo again. Yimo touched her hair and sighed. Xiaoyun, once we get back to the immortal realm, we'll have a child. Then, Qingxue and Susu would be here too. We would have many children. Where do we go now? Changfei Divine Dao City. Yimo answered. He needed to deal with Shu Yu Divine Dao things there and then find the way towards the immortal realm and seal it again. As for getting revenge from the immortal goddess sacred sect and great sun god mountain, Yimo really wanted to do it, but he didn't have the power now. My master and martial sister Biue are still at the immortal goddess sacred sect. I want to message them and tell them I'm with you. Mu Xiaoyun thought of Luo Biue. Whether it was in the immortal realm or other places, Luo Biue helped her greatly. Don't worry, when I left the immortal goddess sacred sect I saw your master take a disciple and leave the sect. If I'm not wrong, she's probably your martial sister Luo Biue. Yimo said. Mu Xiaoyun said heavily, it's probably because my master is disappointed in the immortal goddess sacred sect. She knew things wasn't like that and her master left the sect probably due to the sect leader kicking her out. Yimo knew what she meant and comforted her. There's no point staying in a hypocritical sect like the immortal goddess sacred sect. We'll go to the Mo Yu immortal sect, it's much better than the immortal goddess sacred sect. In the Changfei Divine Dao City, Lei Yuehe and Zhu Wenmao's status was very high and there was Shan Yingyao to help. They didn't dare to be careless though. Yimo left clearly to start trouble with the immortal goddess sacred sect. Now that Yimo wasn't back, who knew what the results were? In an immortal rest tower, Zhu Wenmao and Lei Yuehe were waiting for Yimo. If something happens to brother Yi, we wouldn't be able to get away too. Zhu Wenmao sighed. At this moment, Lei Yuehe comforted Zhu Wenmao. Brother Wenmao, it's because that brother Yi helped us that we're married. If anything happens we can die together. There's no regret. Zhu Wenmao nodded. I just want to rebuild the Shu Yu Divine Dao. If I can do that then I have no regret in death. Lei Yuehe sighed and just wanted to talk when she heard a coarse voice. Who wants to rebuild the Shu Yu Divine Dao? Who dares to? The entire tower heard this voice. Zhu Wenmao and Lei Yuehe were shook. They subconsciously got up. They set up sound barrier restriction but people still heard them. They saw a square-faced dark-skinned man walk over. You too want to rebuild Shu Yu Divine Dao? He sneered in contempt. Zhu Wenmao stared at this man for a long time before asking with uncertainty, may I ask if Qian Bei's surname is Lu? Are you a Dao essence ancestor of my Shu Yu Divine Dao? I didn't expect someone can recognize me, Lu Zhong. When I came back I found the sect had been annihilated for countless years. You say you're a sect members of Shu Yu Divine Dao? Does my sect have sect members as weak as you? The man asked in shock. Zhu Wenmao bowed in surprise and joy and said, Wn Bei. Zhu Wenmao greet Lu Zhong sect master. When martial ancestor Lu left the sect, Wn Bei was only an immortal monarch. Then my body was destroyed and with the help of my Dao partner, I was able to find something to rebuild my body and cultivate back to immortal emperor. I'm really ashamed. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2103 Cocky Dao Essence. Chapter 2103 Cocky Dao Essence. This place is pitiful. Mu Xiaoyun stood on the spacetime boat and sighed. The places she passed was filled with ravines and space fissures. Because they're too selfish. Yimo looked below the spacetime boat and shook his head at the shattered landscape. From how the immortal goddess sacred sect and great sun god mountain did things, it was clear that these divine emperors were all extremely selfish. If he was going to fight, He would definitely not fight at the divine Tao realm. He would go to the void. Otherwise, no matter how stable the divine Tao realm laws and space were, it would be broken by primordial essence divine emperor. Nearing the Changfei divine Tao city, Mu Xiaoyun's mood finally got better. The space and land here was more normal. Husband, our world would be more lively if we get some immortal spirit beasts in. Mu Xiaoyun thought of the Golden Page world. Compared to outside, the Golden Page world was heaven. Yimo thought of Shadowless and Small Ginseng and laughed. There are a few guys inside, but they hid to somewhere else after knowing you came here. There are many immortal spirit beasts inside, but I just haven't gotten them out yet. Yimo was talking about the world he got from the purple-robed man. That world was just below the five-element world. There were all sorts of immortal spirit beasts and immortal spirit herbs inside. There was a portal from that world to his Golden Page world. Small Ginseng often needed to go over to find some immortal spirit herb for winemaking. Because Small Ginseng was fast but he wasn't strong, he was often chased everywhere by the immortal spirit beasts inside. This pissed off Shadowless, and so Shadowless went in and taught them a lesson. Now, they're the big boss of that world. Then let me go see. Mu Xiaoyun said. Mu Xiaoyun knew that she was too weak and would be frequently staying in the Golden Page world. It was necessary to get on good terms with those small guys. Yimo pointed ahead and laughed. Changfei divine Tao city is there. We'll go there first. You can go in the world whenever you want. Yi Qianbei, brother Yi. As soon as the two landed from the space-time boat, they saw people coming to greet at the city gates. Brother Yi, I'm Zhu Dragon God Tower Shu Mao. A yellow-bearded man squeezed a smile and came to the front. Zhu Dragon God Tower? I seem to have heard of this. I heard that they were keeping a wild dragon in the city, but I seem to have taken that dragon away. By the way, the Zhu Dragon God Tower seemed to have sent someone after me, but I slaughtered him. Yimo said coldly. He hadn't even gone to find them yet, but they came first. This yellow-bearded man's face went pale. He was a mere Tao molding divine emperor. Compared to the immortal goddess sacred sect Tao nourishment divine emperor Yunhuai, he was countless times weaker. He was planning to give it back to the Shuiyu divine Tao Zhu Wenmao after he rebuilt it, but he had given up this thought. You dare to lie to me. I will crush your soul. The Tao essence divine emperor's voice grew serious. Yimo laughed. You want to crush me soul? Then try. You're just a mere Tao essence divine emperor. You're asking to die. The Tao essence divine emperor was about to attack immediately. Zhu Wenmao quickly stopped in front and bowed. Grand Elder, Brother Yi has saved our lives and has always been helping our sect. Please appease your anger. The Tao essence divine emperor sneered. Seeing that you're helping build our sect, I'll let you go this time for disrespecting me. After the sect is rebuilt, I'll come deal with you. Sorry, I no longer plan to rebuild this sect. Wenmao, you are her goodbye. Yimo I took Mu Xiaoyun and disappeared from this immortal rest tower. The Tao essence divine emperor's face was green. Just when he wanted to hunt Yimo, Zhu Wenmao quickly said, Sect leader, I'll be responsible for rebuilding the sect. I'll definitely rebuild it completely so that Grand Elder would be happy. Count yourself lucky. The Tao essence divine emperor sneered at the direction Yimo left. As soon as Yimo left the city, he sent Mu Xiaoyun into the Golden Page world and was ready to fight with this cocky Tao essence divine emperor. However, this Tao essence divine emperor didn't chase out. He thought about it and knew that it was Zhu Wenmao and Lei Yuehe begging for mercy. He didn't have the obligation to build the sect for them. Today, a Tao essence divine emperor was this cocky. This made Yimo want to reach Tao nourishment divine emperor more desperately. The Tao essence divine emperor of Shu Yu divine Tao was back. Great Sun God Mountain and immortal goddess sacred sect immediately got news of this. Great Sun God Mountain, who was about to conquer immortal goddess sacred sect, immediately stopped. Immortal goddess sacred sect heard of this and breathed easy too. They knew that Great Sun God Mountain wouldn't fight immortal goddess sacred sect for now. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: You can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2104 Setting Up Shop. Chapter 2104 Setting Up Shop. The space-time bout traveled in the Divine Tao realm, but Yi-Mo didn't have an approximate direction to. He first came to this Changfei Divine Tao city because he was teleported to Shuyu Divine Tao. Shuyu Divine Tao was extremely far from Muhua God Mountain. Even an ordinary divine emperor would need a few decades to travel. Yi-Mo knew that it wasn't easy for even him to get back to that place. Unless he had a safe and hidden teleportation formation like those big sects, otherwise, it was impossible for him to go back there in the short term. Yi-Mo gave the spacetime boat to Qiu Rang and Shadowless to control while he and Mu Xiaoyun went inside the Golden Page world. Mu Xiaoyun knew her cultivation level was too weak and that if she wanted to help Yi-Mo, she would have to hurry up and get stronger. After going in the Golden Page world, Mu Xiaoyun immediately went inside the time formation disk. With Yi-Mo's teaching and all sorts of pills and God Spirit range, Mu Xiaoyun progressed extremely fast. Yi-Mo started to go into solitary cultivation too. Little Blue was melting the soul lamp, but it melted the murder Dao spear very slowly. Yi-Mo knew that although his flame was the number one flame of the immortal realm, it was still a bit low level to melt something like this. Zishu couldn't be upgraded, and this made Yi-Mo unhappy with Ji-Shi even more. This woman owed him a gourd, but he still hasn't seen it yet. To Yi-Mo, it seemed that this woman wanted to cheat. He went to save Xiaoyun at the time and didn't ask her about this. Seeing Little Blue still need some time, Yi-Mo took out the chain he got from the depth of the prison door mountain and the 4 white bones. The chains were still very mysterious and Yi-Mo couldn't scan his spirit sense in. When he took it, he only took the part that was exposed. He couldn't take away the part buried underground and didn't want to take it. The main reason he took the chains were due to the white bones. The bones gave him an extremely familiar feeling. It was inexpressible but real. The chains had no restrictions, but they were shockingly tough. Yi-Mo had to use Golden Bow of Divine Extermination to shoot 6 arrows before barely opening them. Now that he had enough time, he used half a month to spirit control the chains and take out the bones. After spirit controlling the chains, Yi-Mo realized that they were made with Heaven Luo metal essence. They were the best materials that could be used to make the best god artifact. Yi-Mo set aside the Heaven Luo metal essence and checked the white bones with his spirit sense. Yi-Mo caught messages inside the bones. After a long while, Yi-Mo's spirit sense moved away from the bone. The message from the bones were messy, but Yi-Mo organized it. The person was called Yuan Ruatio. She was the 73D saint of the immortal goddess sacred sect and was locked in there due to losing her virginity and was pregnant. She had a loyal maid called Yuan Huiyun. Because Yuan Ruatio was the saint, Yuan Huiyun could still come look after her. Yuan Ruatio gave birth to a girl called Yuan Jun. Yuan Ruatio forced Yuan Huiyun to take away Yuan Jun. It didn't say where, but they just knew Yuan Ruatio pointed Yuan Huiyun to go to a very far place and might never come back. Yi-Mo sighed. He subtly felt that Yuan Ruatio was related to his past life. There was no evidence nor reason, just a feeling. Yi-Mo made a jade box and put the bones inside and set up a tombstone in the Golden Page world. Time passed quickly. Yi-Mo cultivated in the Golden Page world for 10 years. His essence Kai was more condensed and god arts more proficient. His great primordial god rune seemed to have an extra shadow. His formation skills were much stronger than before. The only thing that didn't increase was his cultivation level. He seemed to be stuck at Tao molding Divine Emperor. Yi-Mo wasn't very worried. He knew that at his level, if he wanted to progress, it couldn't come with cultivation resources and using the time formation disk. He needed to learn the world laws and learn life. Meanwhile, Mu Xiaoyun was already an immortal king in the time formation disk. She was an immortal king tertiary stage. This was Yi-Mo letting her slow down, or she would have had her immortal monarch divine damnation already. Yi-Mo left the Golden Page world and chatted with Shadowless, Qiu Rang and Small Ginseng. Shadowless was urging Qiu Rang to find the path to the dragon race, but Qiu Rang didn't know the way himself. We'll wait about going to the dragon race. Let's go find a populous place to live for a while. Yimo said. Shadowless immediately chose a direction, and in just one day, there started to be less space fissures and ravines in the ground. Another 2 days later, there were no more space fissures and they flew faster and faster. After feeling the dense god spirit Kai around him, Yimo's spirit sense scanned a huge divine Dao city. It was even bigger than Changfei divine Dao city and was more populated too. At the city gate, there was the huge golden banner Lunlan divine Dao city. Many immortals went in and out. Yimo even saw a few Dao molding divine emperors. Yimo let small Ginseng and Shadowless enter the golden page world and landed at the city gates with Qiu Rang. Qiu Rang was a dragon, but his Kai had been stealthed by Yimo. The city was filled with stalls and shops. Yimo wanted to find a place to stay and then seek the opportunity to reach Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor. When Yimo saw on the main street that a shop was being sold, Yimo immediately changed his mind. Instead of renting a cultivation home, why not go buy a shop? To him, the most important thing wasn't to spend time to cultivate but spend time to learn Dao and collected God spirit items. It's this cheap. A shop like this in Changfei Divine Dao City would cost at least 2 million God crystals, but here it only costs 500k. Qiu Rang said. Yimo felt this shop was cheap too. It wasn't small and had a backyard. There were 2 levels too. How could it only be 500k God crystals? Immortal friend, do you want to buy this shop? An immortal monarch man smiled and saluted with his fists to Yimo. Yimo nodded indeed, but this price. Yimo stopped. Seeing this, the immortal monarch Queek Wy said, no wonder immortal friend is confused. This shop is worth 2 million, but because the owner left the city and doesn't have time to wait here, so he's selling it for a cheap price. Yimo sneered. Who was he tricking? 500k, if there was no problem with it, this shop would have long been bought away. But Yimo wasn't scared. You might have misunderstood me. Yimo laughed. I'm saying this price is too high, not too low. You're really interesting. Which buyer would say that the price is too low? The immortal monarch was shocked, but he reacted quickly and said, then 450k God crystals will do, no lower. Yimo couldn't be bothered arguing about the price and threw out a storage bag. This is 450k God crystals, give me the ownership pact. The immortal monarch took the bag without hesitation and gave Yimo a pact and left immediately. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.